The city slept quietly under the stars. Inside W-Line Hotel, dangerous plans were already unfolding. Kang Suk-chae stood by the window, phone pressed tight. "Brother, I have something urgent to report." Hyun Woo-young sat calmly. His voice echoed through the room, commanding respect. "Come in, speak directly now." Kang Suk-chae entered swiftly, eyes locked on Woo-young. His expression revealed worry hidden beneath practiced calm. Woo-young swirled his drink slowly, suspecting the urgency had something to do with Suk-hyun's affairs. Suk-chae stood firmly before them, his tense posture emphasizing news heavier than routine gang territory updates. Woo-young lifted his glass calmly, acknowledging the outcome was not a mere win, but total dominance instead. Suk-chae swallowed his words. The room thickened with silence that conveyed more than rushed justifications ever could. Woo-young smirked with satisfaction, reaffirmed in his judgment as Suk-chae once again validated his instincts about people. Before turning 20, he dismantled entire organizations, while Dae-po at that age engaged only in frivolous pursuits. Woo-young laughed lightly, swirling his drink, thinking Dae-po's attitude stemmed from jealousy, not self-improvement efforts. Woo-young leaned forward, acknowledging Suk-chae's achievement and considering a possible promotion to the organization's 4th rank. Suk-chae calmly evaluated the situation, questioning who else, besides them, could truly defeat him in single combat. Woo-young responded seriously, believing that assigning rank solely by combat skill overlooked loyalty and brotherhood's vital importance. He smiled reassuringly, emphasizing no one was being discarded. Though Suk-chae's talents clearly outshone seasoned gang veterans, Woo-young briefly closed his eyes, acknowledging Suk-chae's extraordinary skills, which few individuals could now match in fairness. Suk-chae nodded slowly, acknowledging his strengths, while questioning whether placing him just beneath them might be excessive. Woo-young raised his glass again, signaling willingness to reconsider Suk-chae's promotion if genuine opposition remained among them. Suk-chae relaxed slightly as tension lifted, the conversation pausing with a brief unspoken understanding settling between them. Suddenly, a hesitant voice disrupted the silence as another presence emerged, bringing fresh matters to address. The man stepped closer with hesitation, gathering courage to speak and ask a favor without causing offense. Woo-young raised his glass, maintaining a steady tone while expecting the question to carry genuine importance. The man asked curiously, seeking confirmation that Woo-young ranked first and Dae-po held the 2nd position. Woo-young nodded without hesitation, calmly sipping his drink while maintaining a composed and unreadable demeanor. Throughout, the man questioned the absence of 3rd rank, prompting an awkward silence to settle heavily over the room. Woo-young smiled slightly, noting that some ranks in the Woo-young gang were deliberately left forever vacant. The man stood confused, struggling to understand the reasoning behind purposefully leaving an organizational rank unoccupied. Woo-young swirled his wine thoughtfully, offering only a vague response that suggested deeper complexities remained unexplained. In a desolate alley, shadows gathered, whispers about hierarchy and respect echoed faintly through the silent darkness. Heavy footsteps marched through empty streets. Somewhere ahead, a cold sigh escaped. The night wasn't over yet. Hyun Woo-young stood up slowly, bleeding, yet utterly unimpressed by the unremarkable threat posed by Boseong thugs. One thug issued a warning, but his trembling voice revealed the fear building within him uncontrollably. Woo-young approached with cold eyes, vowing silent suffering as his footsteps echoed ominously through the heavy silence. Police sirens wailed nearby. Woo-young sighed heavily. Annoying. Even if I want to torture you, I can't. Police cars arrived, lights flashing, thugs scattered like insects. Woo-young simply stood still, watching everything fall apart. Police officers moved swiftly surrounding the scene. Their expressions were tense, prepared for immediate control measures. Cold handcuffs tightened around Woo-young's wrists. His expression didn't change, eyes calmly scanning the surroundings. Officers began rounding up the remaining thugs. Sweat dripped from their foreheads despite the night's chill. Woo-young sighed casually, remarking on the close call and wishing help had arrived moments earlier to intervene. Suddenly, Woo-young's eyes narrowed as his instincts flared, sensing something unusual rapidly unfolding before him. Hyun Woo-young resisted fiercely, frustration surging as he denied any affiliation with the gangsters surrounding him. The officer barked back, "Shut your mouth. You're going straight to the juvenile center. Stop struggling. Stop treating me like them." Woo-young roared, struggling harder against the officer's tight, unforgiving grip. Bloodied and exhausted, Woo-young cried out, "I'm telling you, I'm not one of them." His voice cracked. 2 years later, under a clear sky, Woo-young prepared to restart his life at a new place. 2 unfamiliar men approached quietly, their movements deliberate, eyes scanning carefully around the school's front gate. They stood near the entrance, exchanging brief glances. One reached into his pocket, pulling something out. The older man handed over an envelope, his expression serious, as if the contents carried heavy meaning. Hyun Woo-young took the envelope calmly, His grip tightened slightly, remembering everything endured during those difficult years. The wind stirred softly as Wu Yong adjusted his cap. He had returned stronger, sharper, and more determined. Inside a small diner, the man asked calmly, "What are you going to do now, Wu Yong? If you don't have a plan, you'll end up wandering again. You need something stable," he warned. Wu Yong lowered his gaze slightly. "I don't want to go back to my hometown right now," he admitted. Lifting his head, Wu Yong spoke clearly. "I have my own plans as well. I'll figure things out." 2 years later, under bright skies and cherry blossoms, Wu Yong returned, prepared for a new chapter. The spring sun shone brightly over Hanyang High School. Cherry blossoms marked the start of something new. Inside class 2-1, the teacher spoke clearly. "Listen up, everyone. We have a new student today." Standing tall in a suit, Hyun Wu Yong faced his classmates. A new chapter had officially begun. The teacher smiled. "Do you want to introduce yourself?" Wu Yong nodded calmly, prepared for the curious stares. "Hello. I battled a serious illness and received treatment for 2 years. I'm returning this semester," he said. Wu Yong kept his head low, bowing respectfully again. His posture showed humility. Despite sensing the hidden hostility, a sharp smirk appeared. Fingers tapped rhythmically against the desk, signaling silent intentions of future harassment. "Oh, I see," one classmate mocked. "So, we'll torment you equally, no special treatment, just like everyone else." One student sneered confidently, declaring their readiness to act, prompting immediate laughter from those standing nearby. Another student hesitated, questioning whether provoking an unfamiliar and older individual was a wise decision to make. A third student reasoned dismissively, believing someone held back 3 years likely lacked any remarkable ability or merit. Another student mocked loudly, grinning as he questioned how weak someone must be to fall behind. The red-haired student chuckled darkly, his unrestrained laughter echoing throughout the classroom with unsettling confidence. Despite their mocking words, Wu Yong smiled calmly, his composed reaction stirring curiosity among the observing students. One student grinned while suggesting they observe him during lunch, already curious about what might unfold. The red-haired student agreed, clearly scheming something unfriendly as he anticipated the upcoming lunch encounter. The cafeteria grew loud with clattering trays and chatter as students gathered in groups, exchanging midday updates. One student raised his phone proudly, boasting about its impressive 8 million pixel camera to provoke envy. As Wu Yong walked past, a sudden snap echoed, drawing curious glances from nearby students toward the sound. Without a word, Wu Yong casually placed earphones in his ears, ignoring the attention and whispered remarks. One student exclaimed, "What the hell? Those were earphones?" His confusion turned quickly into teasing laughter. "I thought it was a hearing aid because you're so old. Can't you even hear us talking?" Wu Yong remained completely silent, his expression unchanged. Their childish words didn't seem to reach him at all. One student glared at Wu Yong. "If you're angry, come at me directly," he said provocatively. Smiling, Wu Yong adjusted his earphones. "My bad. I have a habit of cranking up the music loud." The student clenched his jaw silently, his eyes burning with frustration but unable to escalate further. Another student demanded Wu Yong leave, mentioning a basketball match and a 30,000 won bet with urgency. Wu Yong remained calm, refusing to move and inviting the others to eat first despite their clear rudeness. One student shouted loudly, attempting to rally attention and assert control over the tense cafeteria situation. Ignoring their commotion, Wu Yong stepped forward confidently. His composure left the group momentarily confused and silent. With calm eyes, Wu Yong stood his ground. Their mocking gazes had no real effect on him. "What's wrong? Do you play basketball alone?" Someone mocked, smirking while leaning closer to Wu Yong. Another student grabbed his collar. "Do you have a problem with that?" he asked, trying to provoke. With a sharp glare, the student muttered, "Let's settle this after lunch," clearly challenging Wu Yong directly. He grabbed Wu Yong's music player carelessly, inspecting it and questioning its value with casual disregard. The student mocked its features and sound quality, claiming he would personally test the device for himself. Wu Yong's expression stayed blank as the bully demanded to borrow the player, reacting to the silent resistance. "Fine," Wu Yong responded calmly, letting the group take his player without resistance, watching their behavior carefully. Hyun Wu Yong smiled faintly, his expression hiding deep thoughts. The events so far barely unsettled him. Time passed. Now seated formally, Wu Yong faced an official meeting, ready for the inevitable questioning ahead. The man remarked after reading the reports, noting Hyunwoo's history and its unusually colorful and eventful nature. Wu Yong nodded slightly, reflecting on how the records resembled a life story now firmly behind him. His eyes remained calm as he reaffirmed that everything described belonged solely to the past, not present. The official tapped his pen thoughtfully, subtly encouraging Wu Yong to reflect more deeply on his past. He questioned directly whether Wu Yong regretted his past actions, waiting patiently for an honest and revealing response. Wu Yong answered calmly, stating he had reasons for everything and felt no genuine regret about his past, He continued firmly, stating he had made his choice and wouldn't repeat such actions in the future. The official remained doubtful, questioning how someone could feel no regret after causing so much disruption. Woo Young expressed a desire to return to his mistakes and gradually make things right as motivation. The official questioned Woo Young's idealism, challenging the existence of any truly perfect place he might envision. He then wondered aloud about the harm in letting a prodigal son fulfill his final personal goal. Woo Young responded with composed professionalism, expressing gratitude for the official's honesty while maintaining a steady demeanor. "If it were up to me, I'd have denied your readmission, Mr. Hyunwoo," the official concluded coldly. The teacher's eyes seemed to stare intently at Woo Young, like there was something the teacher knew. "If you cause even the slightest problem," the official said, his voice sharp with clear warning. The official asked, "Do you have any objections?" Woo Young met his gaze and replied calmly, "None." The atmosphere turned heavy. "That'll do," the official muttered, ending the meeting with a strict tone. With no delay, Woo Young returned to class and sat down. He quietly resumed eating his lunch. The group stood up loudly, chairs scraping back as trays clattered. Their departure felt intentionally disruptive. Woo Young glanced toward their direction, noticing their mess and smirks. His expression remained calm but curious. Trays stacked untidily, food scattered. They clearly intended to leave the mess for someone else to handle. Ignoring the obvious provocation, Woo Young continued eating. His focus stayed on his meal, undisturbed by childish games. The red-haired student grinned. "Clean up after us too," he ordered mockingly before leaving the cafeteria. "Is there a designated person to clean the plates?" Woo Young asked calmly, ignoring their smug expressions. "I heard whoever eats is responsible for cleaning their own plates," Woo Young added, still unfazed. One bully scoffed. "You can't even do a favor for your classmates representing the class in competition? Just look at national team representatives. Doesn't it make you feel ashamed?" They continued arrogantly. From the side, Cha Ho-seok observed quietly. "Isn't he the older student who scored 1,430 points?" he remarked. Woo Young sat still, gathering his thoughts. Slowly, he made his decision without showing any frustration outwardly. "I got it," he said quietly, standing up. His expression remained unreadable under the cafeteria lights. One bully laughed. "You should have done that earlier. No need to make a big fuss about it." Another added mockingly, "Yeah? What's with you, moron?" Their laughter echoed across the near-empty cafeteria space. Without reacting, Woo Young calmly cleaned up the plates. The bullies walked off, thinking they had won. Cha Ho-seok spoke calmly. "No need to report this. The second-year seniors wouldn't bother with something trivial. It's just typical first-year fights. Some kid trying to stand out after transferring in," he added flatly. Under the harsh stream of water, Woo Young stood quietly, washing away the day's frustrations without complaint. "This should be enough," Woo Young whispered to himself as the water poured down, his eyes calm. Outside, the morning sun shined brightly. Life moved forward, unaware of the silent storms brewing inside. The basketball flew high against the blue sky. Everyone's eyes followed it, waiting for the shot. With a loud clang, the ball bounced off the rim. Another failed shot frustrated the players. "Damn it," a player muttered, looking down. His missed shot felt heavier under the watchful eyes. A voice called out teasingly, "What's up, doggy?" The player turned around, confused by the strange remark. "He's mocking?" he repeated mockingly, running around on all fours. The others laughed at his embarrassing reaction. Kim Sung-woo bent down with a smirk, retrieving the ball with a clearly smug and mocking air. He looked up, grinning. The taunting glint in his eyes showed he was enjoying the humiliation. "He's mocking," he barked mockingly, then dunked the ball theatrically, making fun of his classmate's earlier failure. "Hurry up and do something useful, doggy. Isn't there even one thing you're good at?" he mocked. Looking down, the student muttered, "I'm sorry," his voice barely audible. The insult had clearly struck deep. "Young-hoon!" they shouted, waving energetically. Their playful grin suggested something was already planned for today. "How's the new student? Any unique traits?" Young-hoon asked casually, curious about the latest school gossip. "He's nothing special. Only older, that's it. I guess I can treat him like trash, right?" Three boys discussed the new student's arrival, dismissing his significance without understanding his true background. The tallest boy smirked arrogantly, imagining how easily he could dominate the newcomer's reputation completely. Tension built as another boy asked, "Are you sure about that?" Doubt slightly creeping into his tone. The leader shrugged confidently, explaining he'd already humiliated the new student by stealing his personal belongings. Suddenly, the new student revealed a mysterious device, unfamiliar to them all, sparking immediate confusion and curiosity. A boy casually passed the basketball, suggesting they humiliate the newcomer directly to establish immediate dominance. Young-hoon hesitated briefly, his nervous voice cracking as he attempted to avoid direct confrontation this time. Without warning, the basketball flew at incredible speed toward Young-hoon, catching him completely off guard. The ball slammed into the hoop's backboard, echoing loudly as the newcomer stood silently, unfazed. The tension escalated. One of the older boys called Young-hoon's name, signaling him to handle this. Young-hoon mocked the new student again, comparing him to King Kong, trying to lighten the tense atmosphere. But the newcomer's serious gaze silenced him completely, coldly explaining. King Kong climbed up. Just like Young-hoon, embarrassed and overwhelmed, Young-hoon lowered his head, muttering a quick apology without meeting the newcomer's eyes. The newcomer casually removed his music player's headphones, stating the playlist didn't match his personal preference anymore. With a subtle smirk, he extended the device toward Young-hoon, asking calmly if he wanted to listen. The newcomer glared sharply, silently analyzing the situation and deciding how far this interaction would escalate. One senior approached calmly, suggesting there was no reason to ruin everyone's mood over something insignificant. He placed his hand gently on the newcomer's shoulder, emphasizing his words about maintaining peaceful friendships. With a light-hearted whistle, the senior turned away, pretending everything had already been resolved without conflict. But behind him, a red-haired boy clenched his fists tightly, barely suppressing his building frustration and anger. Confused, one boy noticed his friend suddenly turning around, panic flashing across his face without warning. Spotting the basketball dangerously rolling toward them, the boy shouted frantically before sprinting away in fear. Panting heavily, he bowed slightly while apologizing, hoping this small gesture would calm the tense situation. Ignoring explanations, the leader commanded everyone to run immediately, realizing things had already escalated beyond control. From a distance, a teacher observed everything calmly. Knowing reclaiming the stolen item would now be impossible, a teacher sighed deeply, watching the situation unfold quietly, wondering if it was truly over now. With uncertainty lingering, he mumbled to himself, questioning what exactly the newcomer's real purpose might be. The school bell rang loudly, announcing the end of classes, temporarily pushing today's tension into the background. Students stood straight, performing their usual class-ending routine, loudly saluting before starting to leave the room. Inside the classroom, the newcomer adjusted his uniform calmly, preparing for whatever tomorrow might bring next. The discarded music player landed with a dull thud, symbolizing rejection of both old memories and sentiments. Mockingly, a student criticized the outdated songs, demanding newer music more fitting for their generation's modern tastes. He mentioned popular idol groups, suggesting the newcomer was embarrassingly stuck in the past without realizing it. Seeing no reaction, frustration built up. The student insulted the newcomer's silence, questioning his manners and awareness. Annoyed, he raised his hand, sarcastically reminding the newcomer to respond politely when someone addresses him directly. The bully slapped the back of the newcomer's head, demanding he adjust to the school's harsh environment. Glasses fell dramatically onto the desk, symbolizing the momentary loss of pride and the bully's temporary dominance. Before leaving, the bully threatened the newcomer, giving him until tomorrow to change his appearance and attitude. Smirking confidently, the bully thought even the notorious gang from District 8 would be shocked witnessing this. Outside, the sun shined brightly over the school building, as if mocking the darkness hidden within its walls. The senior confidently walked ahead, hiding his earlier frustration behind a smug expression under the clear sky. Inside the convenience store, a new worker wondered if the school's harsh rules applied after hours. The senior asked casually if this was her first part-time job, clearly testing her confidence and attitude. Smiling brightly, she confirmed it was her first job since entering college and promised to work hard. Encouraging her, the senior reminded her that convenience stores weren't special, but mistakes still shouldn't be made. The manager spoke firmly, reminding the new worker to always request proper identification when selling restricted products. The worker smiled and confidently repeated his instructions, clearly understanding the importance of following store policies. The manager warned about kids using fake IDs by attaching photos to their older siblings' identification cards. He explained that even if an ID looked valid, she must refuse if anything felt suspicious or wrong. Pointing to the alcohol section, he emphasized standing firm, or troublemakers would quickly overrun the store entirely. The manager nodded, relieved by her confident attitude, feeling more comfortable leaving the store under her supervision. Handing over his contact information, he reminded her to text immediately if any trouble occurred during her shift. With a cheerful fist pump, she assured him everything would be fine, radiating pure enthusiasm and optimism. The manager smiled, waved goodbye, and left the store, trusting her to handle things on her own. Nayuna stood proudly behind the counter, introduced as a first-year nursing student working her first part-time job. The door chime rang softly as a young man entered, catching Nayuna's immediate polite attention. She welcomed him with a smile while he silently noted her recent start at this convenience store. Without hesitation, he pulled out cash, placing it on the counter, avoiding any unnecessary conversation or delay. Calmly, he requested 1 pack of cigarettes, his tone direct, testing her understanding of store regulations immediately. Nayuna hesitated, slightly confused by the bold request, unsure how to proceed under this unexpected situation. Nayuna recalled her manager's advice, realizing she should request identification before proceeding with the cigarette sale. Woo Young, wearing a school uniform, questioned her hesitation directly, adding pressure with his confident posture. Flustered, she stammered, struggling between following rules and handling the growing discomfort of the tense situation. Woo Young casually explained he was a local and a regular customer, implying no identification should be necessary. As he pulled out an ID, he smirked slightly, pointing out that she seemed unfamiliar with this neighborhood. Woo Young smugly showed a fake ID, testing if Na-Yuna would recognize the obvious attempt at deception. Na-Yuna clenched her fists, silently questioning if she appeared weak enough to be fooled so easily. Her frustration grew. She internally scolded him for wearing a school uniform while attempting something so shameless. Summoning her courage, Na-Yuna firmly reminded herself to be stronger and handle this situation properly. With newfound confidence, she pointed at him and loudly rejected his request, calling him a non-adult directly. Na-Yuna shouted confidently, questioning why he acted so casually, and insisted she wasn't treating him unfairly. Woo Young argued back, claiming he was also 21, and had already shown his identification to prove it. Na-Yuna rejected his claim immediately, accusing him of forging the ID and reminding him about studying seriously. The boy casually asked if she had taken a gap year, clearly trying to deflect her accusations. Embarrassed, Na-Yuna admitted quietly that she had actually taken 3 gap years before starting university. Na-Yuna glared fiercely, determined to handle this properly and prevent him from trying this nonsense again. Grabbing a mop firmly, she prepared herself to physically enforce the store's rules if necessary without hesitation. Woo Young tried calming the situation, claiming he could be very scary when angry and shouldn't be provoked. Ignoring his words, Na-Yuna shouted forcefully, swinging the mop and demanding he leave the store immediately. Panicked, Woo Young pleaded desperately, asking her to call the manager, insisting they personally knew each other. Na-Yuna, panting hard, yelled that being the manager's acquaintance didn't exempt anyone from proper behavior. With a final angry swing of the mop, she forced him back, shouting relentlessly for him to leave. Frustrated and defeated, the boy ran out, muttering how unfair it was that he couldn't retaliate physically. Breathing heavily, Na-Yuna stood her ground, gripping the mop tightly, ensuring he wouldn't dare return soon. Finally calming down, she smiled proudly to herself, celebrating her small but important victory for the day. Na-Yuna smiled proudly, feeling satisfied after standing her ground and handling the situation entirely on her own. Meanwhile, Woo Young sprinted away in frustration, his footsteps loud against the pavement as he escaped humiliation again. Among the busy streets, he gasped for air, holding his chest, completely exhausted from running and embarrassment. Back at school, he slammed his belongings onto the desk, furious about how things kept going against him. Memories replayed vividly, frustrated. He wondered how many times his head had been beaten down recently. Already, scratching his head, he chuckled nervously, wondering when exactly everything had started going so terribly wrong. Suddenly, a vivid memory resurfaced. Cold stares from fellow inmates during his juvenile detention days overwhelmed his thoughts. Surrounded by hostile inmates, he remembered standing confidently despite their stares, never allowing fear to surface. With a smirk, he recalled proudly that nobody had dared to even lay a finger on him. As the sun set, he wandered the streets alone, reflecting on his past and current humiliations. Reaching a familiar gate, he hesitated briefly before deciding to continue his evening walk without stopping. He soon arrived at a lively street filled with restaurants, wondering if food could ease his frustrations. Na-Yuna changed out of her work uniform, sighing softly, already feeling the exhaustion building within her. She exchanged farewells with a coworker, stepping outside as the cool night breeze welcomed her tired steps. Walking under the streetlights, she reflected on how quickly each day passed with classes and exhausting part-time work. Her body ached, and she longed for rest, only to remember unfinished chores waiting at home. With a deep sigh, she reached her front gate, reluctantly accepting that the laundry couldn't be delayed again. The washing machine hummed quietly as Na-Yuna sat nearby, fighting sleep while waiting for it to finish. Hearing the alert, she sighed deeply, realizing the laundry task wasn't over just because it finished washing. Standing tiredly, she wondered aloud where to hang her wet laundry and considered buying a drying rack. An elderly landlord appeared, suggesting she simply use the rooftop since there was plenty of space available. Smiling, he casually mentioned a bachelor living upstairs but reassured her not to worry about his presence. Na-Yuna sighed, wondering what kind of person lived upstairs and if they'd ever cross paths. Under the calm night sky, the rooftop seemed peaceful, moonlight shining brightly over the quiet neighborhood. Meanwhile, the bachelor upstairs tapped restlessly on his music player, lost in a series of agitated thoughts. Frustrated, he scrolled through old songs, annoyed by the constant reminders of things he wanted to forget. Clenching his fist, he cursed under his breath, furious that even recalling today's events made him this angry. The old music player dropped onto the desk, symbolizing the moment he decided to abandon pointless distractions. Throwing on his jacket, he headed out, unable to stay still while his thoughts raced endlessly again. Sitting under the moonlight, he questioned quietly if life really needed to be this frustrating and difficult. His mind drifted back to humiliations, realizing that one or two victories wouldn't satisfy his growing resentment. Determined, he clenched his fist. Viewing this as his final chance to settle everything without further hesitation, he took a slow drag from his cigarette, deep in thought, the cold night air barely registering. Hearing footsteps, he glanced over the railing, curious about who would appear on the rooftop so late. Nayuna introduced herself politely, explaining she needed to hang her laundry as the landlady permitted earlier. Surprised, he asked why she was there. Not recognizing her as someone familiar to this building, Nayuna stood confidently, questioning why a known troublemaker was lounging there like he owned the place. Nayuna paused for a moment, realizing she might be speaking to the rumored bachelor from the attic. He confirmed it plainly, stating he was 21 years old and indeed the attic's sole adult occupant. Repeating the word to himself, he stared at his cigarette, letting the label adult hang in silence. Exhaling slowly, he reaffirmed his identity again, an adult, though the meaning of it felt heavier than before. Yuna laughed, finally accepting what she'd heard earlier was true, though still unsure what to make of him. Nayuna started to walk away, lost in thought. While he casually asked if she was finished already, she turned around confused, unsure how to respond, feeling flustered under his unexpectedly direct question. From his spot, he reminded her plainly that the laundry would start to smell if left like that. Realizing her mistake, Nayuna quickly turned back. Slightly embarrassed, she almost forgot her original task completely. Finally, the two sat quietly under the night sky, laundry swaying gently above them in the breeze. Nayuna proudly reminded him not to underestimate her toughness, recalling how she'd handled the store situation. He admitted his defeat with a smirk, frustrated that his trip to the store had ended pointlessly. With a casual grin, he asked her to just let things slide, clearly not planning to change soon. Nayuna shook her head, scolding him for wearing his school uniform despite claiming adulthood and independence. She paused mid-sip, surprised by her own words, realizing she'd unintentionally touched on something far more personal. He took a sip, staring ahead, wondering aloud if she thought he'd experienced some serious life accident. Nayuna asked gently if he'd recovered. He admitted everything still felt unreal, like floating between realities. Curious, she asked when their formal conversation would end, suggesting they speak casually since both were 21. She tilted her head, playfully questioning if they should drop the formalities or awkwardly continue as strangers. With a slight grin, he introduced himself calmly, finally sharing his name, Hyun Woo-young, under the stars. Nayuna smiled and introduced herself properly, asking Hyun Woo-young to finally share his name as well. She added shyly that she was a freshman nursing student, realizing it sounded too formal and unnecessary. Hyun Woo-young questioned why she even mentioned her department, clearly finding it amusing and slightly embarrassing. Staring into the city lights, he admitted quietly that he was still just second-year student at Hanyang High. Morning arrived, and the scene shifted to Hanyang High School. Standing brightly under the clear, sunny sky, students entered the classroom sluggishly, already burdened by the start of another exhausting and uneventful school day. One of the boys handed over the music player, asking if the playlist had been updated as requested. After checking, the boy became frustrated, realizing only boy group songs had been added once again. Annoyed, he mocked the lack of variety, joking whether the playlist was for a male spa or soup. Without missing a beat, he turned to another student, ordering him to bring cigarettes daily from now on. The leader leaned back casually, instructing the student to bring cigarettes daily, enough for everyone's personal habit. He added firmly that on weekends, the student needed to bring 2 packs with better flavors included. The student nodded hesitantly, accepting the demand without protest, convincing himself that it wasn't really that difficult. Moments later, he nervously asked about the money, realizing he couldn't afford this daily burden himself. Calculating quickly, he realized 3 packs would cost at least 6,000 won each day, a serious expense. Suddenly, a voice called out to Jung Ki-hyuk and Park Young-ho, freezing them completely in place. A furious student confronted them, demanding answers, confused why financial extortion was still happening despite previous warnings. Startled and panicked, they immediately apologized, realizing they might have crossed the wrong person this time. Another student chimed in, accusing the timid boy of exploiting them, claiming he was using them for profit. Visibly enraged, he shouted that this was outrageous and questioned aloud if he should tolerate such treatment. Young-hoon stormed forward angrily, but his classmate tried calming him down, promising to handle things swiftly. Annoyed, Young-hoon questioned how quickly this education would happen, clearly impatient and already losing his temper. Without hesitation, he delivered a brutal punch, cutting the conversation short and immediately resorting to violence. Another blow followed, leaving the victim gasping for air, struggling desperately to breathe through the sharp pain. Calmly observing the scene, a senior remarked coldly that he expected nothing less from Young-hoon's violent outbursts. The classroom fell silent as 2 students entered, scanning for someone who didn't belong there anymore. One whispered, "He acts like he's still in juvie." eyeing the quiet guy seated near them. The taller one smirked coldly and muttered, "Doesn't matter. He's due for a few beatings." They lunged without warning, fists crashing into his ribs. He staggered back, breath escaping through clenched teeth in pain. A shout cut through the room. "You're asking for money? Hey!" As a new student stepped forward. The red-haired boy grinned coldly and asked, "Do you know what caused all this trouble?" The victim panicked and cried out, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry," as fists continued hitting his face. Another student watched nervously from afar, thinking, "They're going too far. Is this really the right way?" The redhead muttered, "I was going to spare you for cigarettes, but that deal's off now." Just then, someone shouted, "Hey, Kim Sung-woo," his name echoing as a figure approached from behind. He glanced toward the commotion, unsure whether to step in or stay silent like everyone else. The red-haired bully sneered, "Congratulations, You've got yourself a new buddy. Hope you're ready." Leaning closer, he whispered, "I'll make every single day of your life a living hell." His fingers dug into the boy's shoulder. "Look forward to it," he added, grinning with cold satisfaction. He stood frozen. Across the room, another student clenched his fist, rage slowly rising behind his eyes. The red-haired student smirked coldly, confronting his target with an expression full of confident contempt. He leaned closer, threatening harshly, "From now on, I'll make your life a living hell. You better look forward to it," he whispered, pressing his forehead against the boy's indominance. The quiet student stood speechless, processing the humiliation, while rage slowly built beneath his calm face. Behind gritted teeth and clenched fists, he swore revenge, as others watched, unaware of what's coming. He hesitated under pressure, voice trembling, then gave in, muttering a forced agreement to avoid conflict. Another student approached him respectfully, asking him to follow, trying hard not to anger the upperclassman. The senior exploded, furious at the formal tone, launching a sudden kick without warning or restraint. Crashing to the floor, he whimpered, raising his hands. "I understand. So please don't hit me." His bruised face tensed. Behind his glasses, quiet resentment stirred, hidden beneath a mask of obedience. They descended the stairs quietly, steps synchronized, the tension between them still hanging in the air. One asked nervously, "Where are we going?" Unsure if trouble or a task awaited them below, the other replied bluntly, "The convenience store," keeping his expression unreadable and his pace steady. Lowering his voice, the younger apologized. "I'm sorry, Hyung. I act different when others are watching." With a calm tone, the older responded, "You can just speak casually, trying to ease tension." He hesitated, glancing away, unsure whether to respond casually or maintain the expected distance and hierarchy. The older boy smiled and tapped his shoulder. "So I'll ask you again. Let's talk casually." "Wo-young," he finally replied, letting the name slip out naturally, accepting the offer of equal speech. The older student asked casually, then, "What should I do now?" trying to lighten the situation further. "You'll prepare snacks for those three," Woo-young said firmly, "and hand them out when they ask." One student shouted loudly, demanding hamburgers, clearly used to giving orders and being instantly obeyed. The group moved together as Woo-young explained that hamburgers sell out quickly by the afternoon. He instructed, "Buy 3 early to stock up, then begin assignments without ignoring the teacher." Another student asked, "Can't we just do it later?" He seemed annoyed and pressed for time. Woo-young replied calmly, "You only do homework to avoid trouble. Focus now to truly improve your grades." Woo-young adjusted his glasses, irritated by the delay, mentally preparing for whatever excuse would come next. Carrying the bag of snacks, they walked back quickly, aware they had already taken too long. A student at the desk snapped, "How long does it take? You trying to slack off?" Nervously, he answered, "Sorry." The line was really long, hoping it would prevent further confrontation. The upperclassman slammed his desk and shouted, "Didn't I tell you not to make excuses, punk?" And Woo-young stood silently, adjusting his glasses, his expression unreadable as he observed the classroom aftermath. The bell rang. Outside, birds chirped, but the tension inside still lingered beneath the clear sky. Students walked across the courtyard, chattering casually. The teacher followed slowly, lost in thought, hands behind his back. "It sure isn't easy taking care of these kids," he muttered. "I just want some rest," someone called from behind. "Wo-young." He turned calmly, lifting a hand. "Yes," he answered, voice still steady. Students walked together after class. One asked, "What else needs to be done? Isn't school over?" Sunwoo smiled faintly. "But we're just getting started," he replied, his voice calm but filled with weight. Woo-young followed behind, still catching his breath. The day had shifted, but pressure hadn't left him. Elsewhere, the teacher stood motionless. The school day had ended. But something else was clearly beginning. That night, meat sizzled on the grill. Bottles clinked. Somewhere, adults shared drinks while students bore burdens. The restaurant buzzed with noise. Do-young stood silently in an apron, lost in the crowded heat. "Hey, waiter!" a man yelled. Do-young snapped back to focus and rushed toward the waving table. 5 pork belly, 1 Coke, 1 soju, and a beer. The customer barked without looking up. "I got it, sir," Do-young replied flatly, nodding with tired eyes and turning toward the kitchen. "We have to work part-time at the meat restaurant," Do-young later explained. "Why?" Sun-woo asked, surprised. He stared nervously ahead, unsure why they brought him here, heart racing as tension slowly built. The building looked normal, but he sensed something deeper. Young-hoon and Kim-yek had lured him inside. Questions were sharp. "What about payment?" The man with glasses eyed him coldly, waiting for answers. "No way I'm sharing," he snapped. His tone revealed loyalty, not greed, hiding who truly benefited. He pointed at the nightclub. "Everything goes to Young-hoon," he said. A shadowed figure waited beneath the lights. He couldn't understand why only one worked while others profited. The setup felt deeply unfair, wrong. The man explained calmly. The owner favored efficiency. One loyal worker meant fewer problems, easier control. Young-hoon and Kim-yek didn't complain. They got paid well and stayed out of trouble with management. Inside, orders slammed down. "Punk!" barked the manager, startling the worker mid-shift, pen shaking in hand. Confused, he stuttered. The manager scolded, demanding speed. "You stand there while orders pile up?" He growled. He moved silently through the crowd. The adults watched him with cold eyes, their judgment constant. He clenched his jaw, wondering why they treated students like threats. Was respect only earned through age? Despite the stares, he carried on. One step, one task, without showing doubt or hesitation. In the back, he gathered bottles. His hands ached, but he didn't pause or complain. Night fell quietly. The city glowed under the moonlight, unaware of the burden on one teenager. He sat on the rooftop, silent, the air still, his shoes off after another long shift. He lit a cigarette slowly, his hand shaking slightly. The night was his only quiet companion. Far below, classmates walked home wearily, as one stretched and complained after a grueling part-time shift. One student thought the day was over, but the other casually mentioned gaming still awaited him. Surprised, the boy glanced over, confused by his friend's energy despite clear signs of exhaustion. He looked curious, breaking the silence as he asked whether the other even knew which game he meant. The first student guessed Sudden Force, but the other admitted it was his first time hearing it. The gamer smiled confidently, ready to take the lead since someone had to get things started tonight. He replied firmly, reaffirming their decision to do everything together and refusing to back out now. The other nodded, urging him to perform well as their night walk shifted into quiet determination. While walking, he admitted continuing to game after work, acknowledging how unusual that habit might seem. His friend hesitated before asking if they were the only ones working part-time and gaming daily. The other explained casually that nearly 30 students from various grades and classes were also involved. He questioned the lack of reports, noting how even caught individuals return worse after being released. "You can't escape," he said. "Even transferring won't help. They'll track you, no matter where you go." He lowered his gaze, finally revealing something personal, a dream he never dared to protect openly. "I originally dreamed of being a cartoonist," he said. The words sounded distant, like another lifetime. Back then, he used every short break to draw small moments filled with focus and quiet hope. His drawings were clean, precise. One sketch captured a girl mid-pose confident lines from uncertain hands. But his teacher only stared. No praise, no support. Just a confused, dry response. "What?" Then he froze as mocking words echoed inside his head. "This bastard is a total otaku." The class leader smirked. "Open your bag." The demand came without reason, just pressure and control. "You're an otaku in a beggar's shoes," he sneered, tossing approval like a joke. "Okay, pass." And the leader placed a hand on his head. "Our class is counting on you now." His friend later asked, "You didn't even try to argue or fight back?" He stayed silent. Then, under the harsh streetlight, Woo Young stood still, haunted by memories that clung like shadows. "No, my dream now is simple," he whispered, tightening his grip on the backpack strap. He looked down at the pavement, voice steady. "I just want to graduate. That's all." Even without joy or friendship, he hoped time would pass, wiping away pain like morning fog. And sitting beside his silent friend, he muttered, "I'm tough. I don't care if I bleed." Meanwhile, Woo Young lit a cigarette, knees up, thinking hard. His strength didn't shield others from pain. His jaw clenched. The other kids aren't tough, he realized. They break. Because of people like me. Woo Young sat alone under the night sky, thinking about how his body could withstand anything. He remembered the fight, how he took blows and stood tall, unfazed by pain or fear. But his fists couldn't protect everyone. The other kids got hurt while he kept standing strong. Determined to change something, he ran through the empty streets, heading toward the building without hesitation. He reached the door, heart racing, hearing someone inside call out, "Hyunwoo, are you all right?" She heard a loud thud behind the door and stopped, unsure whether to knock or wait. Worried, she stayed silent, sensing something was wrong. Her face showed concern, but she didn't speak. Inside the room, he sat alone, typing furiously, surrounded by boxes and a small fan. His screen displayed sudden force. He clicked it fast, eyes locked in, ignoring everything around him. The character Captain Young-hoon appeared. His fingers twitched. Escape was just a game away for now. He paused typing when she entered, frustrated by the interruption but unsure how to react properly. She stepped in quietly, asking softly why he always pushed people away, even those who cared. Her voice trembled as she reminded him he could talk, open up, and stop pretending. He looked back sharply, unsure what to say. "About what?" he muttered, avoiding her gaze completely. She sighed, leaning on the doorframe. "These days I've been going to the library, waiting." He stood and faced her, confessing that he had already talked to his teacher earlier. She explained his missing assignments and declining grades since sophomore year, confused about what had gone wrong. Still seated, he dismissed her again. "Nothing. Please don't worry about it anymore," he replied coldly. She pleaded, overwhelmed. "You come home late, wear the same clothes, play games until morning." "Why?" he shouted, anger overflowing. "You want to know? Then leave me alone." She stood, speechless, trembling. He sat silently, controller in hand. His sister stood at the door, disappointment in her eyes. She asked if he skipped studying to hang out with troublemakers. He stayed quiet, eyes fixed forward. She demanded answers. He hesitated, then muttered, "I don't know." Her voice cracked. "Where have you been?" His patience snapped. "It's nothing. I can handle it." He stood abruptly, chair screeching on the floor. She stepped closer, voice lowered. "Are you involved in bullying or something worse?" He froze, heart racing fast. He turned away, breathing heavily. The argument left his thoughts scrambled and emotions boiling beneath the surface. She yelled at him, her voice rising. "You're so annoying!" He clenched his fists and snapped. He shouted back, shoving her away. "Get out of my room!" The door slammed shut behind him. She banged on the door. "Sunwoo? Please talk to me," he shouted. "I have nothing to say," she pleaded, voice breaking. "If you don't tell me, how can I know what happened to you?" She banged on the door, shouting his name. He yelled back, desperate to shut everything out. Sunwoo sat still, trembling. Her voice echoed through the room, but he kept his back turned. His breathing faltered. Tears welled up. He whispered, "Mom, I'm sorry." Guilt heavy on his shoulders. "I'm really sorry," he repeated, trembling. His body curled up as regret flooded every part of him. The game screen blinked. Messages from teammates begged him to return. He ignored them and typed quietly. Sunwoo wiped his face, then turned back to his screen. His fingers trembled as he typed. He remembered the mission. A single mistake caused the squad's defeat. He clenched his jaw hard. His eyes narrowed. And everyone just died? The words repeated in his head like a broken record. A new match loaded. Outside, sunlight passed through the window. Inside, tension hung thick and unchanged. He stared at the screen. Unfortunately, this one doesn't die. He endures. He's still fine. Sunwoo sighed quietly, staring blankly ahead. The weight of the night still clung to his chest. He walked down the stairs, his steps slow. The hallway echoed with silence and faint morning light. "And I still have to go to school today," he muttered, tightening the straps on his bag. The front door creaked open. He stepped outside, the air cool against his tired, unshaven face. He walked forward without looking back, each step steady, though doubt and exhaustion still pressed from behind. He walked through the empty street, backpack tight on his shoulders, steps echoing under the morning sun. His breath slowed. "Ha!" He exhaled, staring ahead. The school building loomed closer, familiar and unwelcoming as ever. Classroom 2-1. The door stood quiet. He paused, then reached for the handle with tense fingers. Inside, students laughed and chatted casually. Their voices were loud, but none of them noticed his absence. He opened the door, panting slightly. All eyes turned toward him, surprised by his sudden appearance. One student scoffed, "You think you can show up at this time?" Sunwoo lowered his gaze. The boy sneered at Sunwoo's late arrival, while Sunwoo offered no argument, only a quiet apology. Nearby classmates laughed as the boy mocked Sunwoo, cruelly reminding him of his expected submissive role. The boy snapped again, demanding obedience, and Sunwoo simply nodded, responding with the same quiet apology. "Do you think that's enough?" the boy growled. "Saying sorry doesn't fix anything. Words won't cut it." "Morning, everyone," another student said sarcastically. The class quieted as tension filled the air again. He smirked. "Our dog has finally arrived." His voice was calm, but the insult hit hard. "And he's really sorry about being late. Isn't that right, doggy?" he added, voice full of mockery. Sunwoo lowered his head. Thank you, Young-hoon." The others chuckled while one snorted in amusement behind him. "Spit." The wet sound snapped his focus. He stood stunned, unable to speak or look away. The boy leaned back, smirking. If you're really sorry, clean that up, he ordered coldly. Use your mouth, he added, voice dark. Then I'll accept your apology. Laughter stirred around them. Sunwoo froze. Sweat rolled down his temple. His hands stayed limp, shoulders tightening under the pressure. Another student chuckled. Yeah, that's a great idea. That'll prove you really meant your apology. Sunwoo didn't answer. He stood silently, cornered. Everyone stared, waiting to see what he'd do next. Young-hoon stared at him coldly. Or do you just not want to live anymore, huh? No, that's not it. I'll do it. I will, Sunwoo stammered, his voice barely holding firm. He stepped forward. The room stayed silent. Chairs creaked as classmates shifted to watch what came next. Young-hoon leaned back casually, smug. Sunwoo stopped in front of him, breath shaking, knees nearly giving out. Without speaking, Sunwoo knelt. His hands trembled above the mess. Young-hoon, he whispered, eyes filled with dread. Sunwoo's lips parted, but no sound came out. He trembled, staring at the mess beneath him. Just do what I told you, Young-hoon said flatly. His voice was low, but unmistakably threatening. I'm going easy. Don't like it? I'll kill you instead, Young-hoon added with a chilling, calm grin. Sunwoo's voice cracked. Please, let it slide this time. I can't do this. Not like this. Looks like our dog isn't fully trained yet, one boy laughed, mocking, as others smirked behind him. Sunwoo knelt silently as laughter filled the room. Another classmate glanced up, sensing something had changed. His eyes locked on the door. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway, gaining everyone's attention. Ah, here he comes. Our second dog, one student muttered, watching the tall figure step inside. You should both train together, the leader said. You, come here, he added, voice cold and commanding. The new student stepped forward. What? He muttered, confused. His face unreadable, but fists already tightening slightly. The tall student stepped closer. Sunwoo, he said calmly, eyes steady. Everyone turned, tension thick in silence. Sunwoo looked up, confused. The boy smiled slightly. I hope you become a great cartoonist. You said that's your dream, right? He continued. About wanting to draw cool stories, be someone better. The student's gaze darkened. I'm actually a decent magician, he added. Watch closely. I'll clean this place. From now on, I'll make the trash disappear, he declared. So take a good look, everyone. Woo-young smiled faintly. I told you, I'm a magician. Sunwoo looked up, confused and tense. Why don't you believe me? Woo-young asked. Let me show you a demonstration, he added calmly. He glanced around. These losers, he said with a nod. One of the bullies stepped forward, irritated. What the hell, the boy shouted, charging. Woo-young didn't move. A strike landed clean across his face. The attacker froze. What? I just hit him really hard, he muttered, staring at Woo-young still standing tall. Woo-young's voice dropped. Watch closely, he said. His gaze burned, and the room fell completely silent. Hocus pocus, he whispered. The bully froze, eyes darting between Woo-young's fist and his own rising panic. Abraka. Woo-young lifted his arm slowly. Every student watched, unsure if he was joking or serious. What the fuck is this, the boy shouted, stepping back too late to avoid the blow. Dabra! Woo-young's fist came crashing down straight into the attacker's head. With unstoppable speed and shocking power, the bully crashed to the ground. Desks shook, no one spoke, even the laughter had stopped completely. He groaned faintly, face down, blood trickled. His body didn't move. Eyes barely open, he stayed still. Sunwoo stared, heart pounding. He couldn't believe it, someone had finally stood up to them. The other bullies froze. One stepped back. Young-hoon clenched his fists, but didn't say a word. Whispers spread. Students watched from their seats, shocked. Some covered their mouths, afraid to say anything aloud. Woo-young looked down at Sunwoo, calm and composed. Did you see it? He asked softly. A small grin formed on his face. One of them vanished, he said, voice oddly cheerful. Sunwoo stared up, stunned. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came. The room stayed quiet. Then Woo-young pointed to the empty spot, alarmed. Did you see it? One of them vanished. A smug figure stepped forward, laughing loudly. Ha ha, look at this shit. He mocked the fallen group. He kicked one downed student, sneering. Weren't you supposed to be strong? That was too easy. Another student stood up, calm but firm. Hey, stop it, he said, voice low but commanding. Standing beside him, his friend added, You and Youngo aren't the same. Think before provoking again. He stepped forward with a calm grin, radiating confidence as he sized up the situation quietly. I've heard of it, he began, removing his jacket while others watched with cautious, curious silence. Some regret their pasts and stay quiet, he said, so they fade away in new schools. He dropped his jacket, cracked his knuckles and stated coldly, But this still is my domain. Another warned him firmly, Young-hoon isn't like us. Don't expect him to fall without a fight. The tension snapped. Both faced each other in silence, steps heavy, preparing for a brutal confrontation. With a cold glare and clenched fists, he declared, "This is where you die, right here." The opponent's eyes narrowed as he took a step forward, his heel crushing glass on the ground. Mocking words followed, "Hocus pocus, abraca." His voice calm, but the sarcasm was meant to provoke. Before the taunt could finish, a fist came flying fast, sharp, and aimed with deadly precision. Grinning, he raised his fists and shouted the final word, "Dabra!" Just before launching the strike. With explosive force, his punch landed directly, drawing gasps and freezing everyone as the impact echoed hard. The opponent crashed to the ground violently, desks rattling, and classmates frozen in shock at the sight. One by one, their eyes widened, red-haired student among them, realizing this wasn't an ordinary school fight anymore. Another boy, trembling, muttered in disbelief. The weight of what just happened hit them all at once. He lay on the floor, eyes half open, silent but conscious, processing the impact he just received. A student scratched his head and muttered, 3 years of boxing? That's all it took?" The red-haired boy approached, sneering, "You think you're strong?" But his shaky voice betrayed his rising fear. Another warned coldly, "Young-hoon's only ranked 5th. Seniors are stronger. Don't think one win proves anything at all." Boiling with rage, the red-haired student screamed, "You'll die, you son of a bitch!" and charged forward. He turned, expression blank. "Sungwoo and I are heading up. You do the errands today." "What?" He blinked, unsure if he heard right, while the senior listed their order hamburgers and cola. "What?" he asked again, but the glare he received was sharper than any explanation he expected. "If you don't want to die, buy it," the voice commanded, cold and without any hesitation. Grumbling inside, he ran off, thinking, "Stupid. I'll tell Hosok everything you did here today." He grinned and waved his friend over. "Let me show you something interesting," he said casually. The boy hesitated, stammering "woo," but quickly corrected himself. "Wait, no, Hyung!" Panic rising in his voice. And Woo Young's student smirked, amused. "Hey, why are you calling me Hyung? We're friends now, right?" They turned to leave. "Let's go," he said. "Don't worry, they're not dead. Just unconscious." He paused, looking back. "They'll wake up soon. Do you want to be here when they do?" Woo Young offered a calm nod, stepping beside the newcomer who had just volunteered to join him quietly. Together, they walked forward, uniforms crisp and silence between them heavy with something unspoken yet mutually understood. Their footsteps echoed on the staircase as tension quietly settled in, neither speaking but both deeply alert. The younger one hesitated, glancing sideways. Wo Young?" he asked, unsure if he should speak further. "I'm grateful you helped me earlier. But maybe we should stop this now and just run," the younger student nervously confessed. Everyone turned against you, while watching Wo Young's unreadable face for his reaction. Woo Young replied calmly, Really?" without being surprised. His tone was steady, unshaken by the warning. They stepped into the sunlight on the roof, an open and calm space compared to the tension below. Woo Young picked up a chair for Sunwoo to sit on, and he walked away dragging the chair. He then told Sunwoo to sit in the chair, and they discussed about the kihyuk in the cafeteria. The younger student sat slowly. Others said those guys are seriously dangerous, he warned with concern. Woo Young waved it off calmly. "Hey, it's going to be fine. Just sit back and relax." He added, "I'm not asking you to fight. Just watch everything unfold from the sideline. Then you'll see they're only pretending to be strong. It's all just an act," Woo Young said plainly. The younger student said nothing, watching as approaching footsteps signaled the arrival of more hostile faces. The red-haired student led the group, his steps firm and his eyes locked on Woo Young. The younger student's face tightened. He could feel the pressure from the group growing with every step. The gang lined up silently, all eyes on Woo Young. Their numbers were meant to intimidate him. Red hair pointed furiously. "It's them, those sons of bitches," he shouted, voice sharp and echoing loudly. Woo Young stayed seated, smiling casually. The younger student sat beside him, unsure whether to stay or run. One of the gang members stepped forward, a smug look on his face. He clearly wanted to lead this confrontation. Woo Young replied flatly, "Oh, you know me? I don't know you," while keeping his posture relaxed. "You managed to knock Young-hoon down in one punch. You have impressive skills," the man said. Woo Young grinned. "System and order? You use those words for your little bully hierarchy?" he retorted. 3 students were seen smiling sarcastically, and one of them said that it was not an individual job. Woo Young's calm expression shifted. His eyes darkened slightly, sensing the moment was finally about to turn. The leader stepped forward. "Of course you should still be punished for disrupting the school hierarchy today." He pointed aggressively. "Come here," he ordered, voice hard, expecting Woo Young to obey without hesitation or resistance. Woo Young stood from his chair, walking steadily forward. Every step carried weight, and silence followed him closely. Cha Jong-guk watched carefully. He's stronger than Young-hoon. Took him out with one blow. Dangerous guy. Cha Jongkook stared intently. He's different from the rest. His nickname is the Wailing Wall. Another student commanded loudly, "Stop there and kneel down." His confidence showed as his crew stood behind. Woo Young remained seated, unmoved. "Please kneel and ask for mercy for what we did. Please," mocked Jungkook. Woo Young stood slowly. "I've already heard of your move. I know how to counter it completely." Jungkook prepared himself. "I'll just avoid getting hit, and then counter," he shouted, "Dabra!" and lunged forward. Jungkook lunged forward, but Woo Young's counter was instant. His fist slammed down with terrifying force and precision. Silence lingered. Red-haired and his friend stood stunned, unable to believe what had just happened instantly. Everyone froze. Even the boldest among them showed visible shock as Jungkook collapsed onto the ground. Woo Young looked down at the fallen student, eyes steady. No emotion, no fear, just certainty. He turned to the others. "See? Another one of them vanished," he said without a pause. "How did Hoseok still lose even after I warned him?" he thought, clearly frustrated by the outcome. "All right, now the third rank. Come out," Woo Young called, his tone calm but filled with authority. "Just now, I took down the fourth rank." "So who's third?" Woo Young asked, looking unimpressed. "This guy. He's the strongest second year after Cha Hoseok," someone admitted weakly. Woo Young seemed more bored than challenged. "Well, are you giving up? Or does anyone else want to challenge me?" "I'm fine either way," one student sighed heavily. "Where did this lunatic even come from?" he muttered, completely overwhelmed. "I don't think we need to challenge you," another admitted, swallowing his pride. "We've lost." "Really?" "All right," Woo Young replied casually, like he expected nothing less. The atmosphere grew noticeably heavier. "Now, what about the hamburger and Coke?" he asked, referencing the bet without missing a beat. The defeated student looked up, confused and humiliated, realizing he now had to honor the bet. "Sungwoo and I are hungry. You know where the canteen is, right?" Woo Young stated firmly. "I know," one student answered, his head lowered. Woo Young didn't hesitate. "Then, what are you waiting for? Go now." "Yes." The students rushed off quickly, trying to avoid further humiliation under Woo Young's commanding presence. "What are you doing? You lost. Stay down like you promised," Woo Young reminded coldly without flinching. "Understood," the student muttered. Woo Young stood tall. "Good. Stay like that," he declared, his authority unquestioned. Woo Young glanced ahead, confused. A new figure appeared, standing confidently while others remained seated. "Then Cheon Daejin Senior Nim," someone exclaimed nervously. The strongest student had unexpectedly entered the scene. "Eh? Why are you getting up?" another asked, realizing something serious was about to unfold. "Do you know who that is?" "Cheon Daejin Sunbae Nim, the strongest student at Hanyang High School. You're in for it now. He's a genius fighter, born only once in decades," a student whispered. "Aren't you tired of this cliché?" Woo Young asked calmly, his words cutting through the tense atmosphere. "I tried brushing it off, thinking you were playing around, but now it's clearly out of hand." With a sharp glare, Cheon Daejin spoke decisively. "I'm putting an end to this right now." "Abraka," he began mockingly, raising his hand as if casting a spell to mock Woo Young's calmness. "Are you crazy? That shit won't work on me," Daejin shouted, as Woo Young prepared himself calmly. "That's the stuff." "I couldn't even see it," another yelled, amazed at the speed of the punch. "Want to try it twice? Eat this," Daejin taunted, stepping in confidently for a second strike. As Daejin raised his arm and shouted Dabra, Woo Young vanished from his sight. Daejin gasped. Woo Young then hit Daejin on the head so that he fell to the ground, with just one punch. In a flash, Woo Young countered with a devastating blow, sending Daejin crashing to the ground. "Yeah, that's right, sir," they shouted nervously, recognizing Woo Young as the new undisputed top fighter. "Seriously? I have no clue what sets him apart from Youngo," a student muttered, confused and overwhelmed. "Anyway, am I the strongest in this school now?" Woo Young asked calmly, his voice full of certainty. "Wow. He conquered the whole school in just 30 minutes, a student thought, struggling to believe it. And then, just like magic," Sunwoo whispered, stunned by Woo Young's overwhelming dominance and calm presence. The senior student stood confidently atop the defeated, declaring victory over the entire school without hesitation. One junior, seated quietly, observed in disbelief, stunned how someone could dominate everyone in just minutes. His face turned pale, realizing power like that wasn't normal. It wasn't luck, it was something dangerous. Trying to stay calm, he stood up, legs stiff, unsure whether to challenge or flee from him. Nearby, upperclassmen approached, unimpressed. "If this is a joke," one warned, "we'll teach you a lesson." The courtyard filled with seniors, chairs were overturned. Tension thickened as a lone figure stood watching, and Woo Young scanned the crowd confidently, smirking. "Everyone is here?" he asked, already knowing the answer. A subordinate pointed confidently. "Is it that punk?" The leader narrowed his eyes. Yes, came the confirmation. They noticed a fallen student nearby. Shock spread quickly. "Wait, Daejin? Is that Daejin over there?" Without remorse, he replied flatly, I put him there because I was bored. Silence overtook the courtyard. Realization hit hard. Xian Daejin, the feared senior, was already defeated. No one expected this outcome. He stared at Daejin's motionless body. Sweat formed. Doubts grew stronger. Is this really happening? He thought. Mumbling nervously, he whispered, Daejin. His mind couldn't comprehend seeing the school's strongest lying completely powerless. Standing tall, the newcomer declared confidently, So, I'm pretty sure I'm your boss now. Any objections? He scanned the silent crowd. Calmly, he asked, Does anyone have a problem with that? No response. One senior sneered confidently. He's alone right now. Let's send him straight to the hospital today. Another objected nervously. What? You really want to hand over the school to that random loser? They gathered, preparing. You're right. Right now we should protect our pride before it's too late. The red-haired senior smirked. Even if he's strong, no way he handles everyone together. Impossible odds. Without hesitation, they charged. One shouted, Attack him! Feet pounded the ground as chaos erupted instantly. Smiling confidently, he warned, Coming together only makes it easier for me to crush you all. Hyun Woo-young stepped aside, calmly saying, Please step back for a moment. Handle this properly. He glanced back. Hey, I'll ensure you never mess around again. Not after I leave tomorrow. Confusion spread. What? What did he say? Woo-young is going to leave after all this? Someone muttered. Before anyone processed it, a fist landed cleanly. The first attacker dropped instantly without resistance. Without hesitation, he struck the nearest attacker directly. The sound echoed. Others hesitated, realizing his overwhelming strength. Two more charged. He weaved between punches, delivering precise blows. Their attacks failed. They collapsed instantly afterward. Eyes sharp, he focused on the red-haired senior, recognizing him as the last threat still standing. The red-haired senior froze. Sweat rolled down his cheek. Panic set in as he prepared to retreat. But it was too late. Woo-young closed the distance instantly, kicking directly at the senior's exposed side. Bodies lay scattered across the rooftop. Woo-young stood calmly as the last remaining senior approached cautiously. Panicking, the red-haired senior shouted, I'll buy it! I'll buy it right now! Voice trembling, desperation obvious. As he stumbled away, he pleaded loudly, Just wait a moment! His courage completely shattered under pressure. Woo-young halted him. Hold on. Stop right there. His voice remained calm, but authority clearly filled every word. Woo-young smirked. I'm 21, you're 18. Shouldn't you show proper respect before yelling like that? Terrified, the red-haired senior bowed deeply. His pride shattered, fear now completely replaced his earlier defiance. Woo-young smiled faintly. All right now, run. I'll count to 3. Calm, yet everyone felt the threat. 1, shouted Woo-young. The senior bolted without waiting, yelling, I'll be right back. As he vanished quickly, left alone, Woo-young stood beneath the sky. He'd conquered everything, yet seemed oddly at peace. Elsewhere, the school's hall filled with whispers. News of the rooftop fight was spreading like wildfire. He pushed through the hallway crowd. Move, you punk! I'm in a hurry. Panic ruled his thoughts. Students watched curiously. Isn't that Young Ki-yuk from Class C? Confusion spread across their unsuspecting faces. Why would someone from our school's gang come here? Whispers grew louder as curiosity filled the hall. At the cafeteria, he shouted desperately, Ma'am, 2 biggest hamburgers and a cola. Hurry! The cashier responded blankly. We don't have different sizes. Frustrated, he yelled, Then just give me 2. Slowly regaining consciousness, Daejin groaned. Am I dreaming? His head throbbed, reality hitting harder than expected. Woo-young stood nearby. I'm sorry, but you're not dreaming. His voice was calm but undeniably commanding. Daejin looked around nervously. Are they? He asked, eyes wide, fearing the worst for his fallen comrades. Yes, they're your friends. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Woo-young's words strangely offered cold reassurance. With a faint smirk, Woo-young declared, The boss has changed. You woke up sooner than expected, though. Woo-young sat relaxed. Hosak got knocked out before you. He still hasn't even woken up yet. Daejin, sitting up, muttered, This is ridiculous. Why the hell are you doing this? Confusion mixed with pain. Woo-young replied coldly, Change your tone. Se-hyung, why are you doing this? Don't speak casually again. Daejin spat angrily, Fuck off. Woo-young's gaze narrowed. Ah, right. The former boss still wants to act tough. Raising his fist, Woo-young sighed. How about another nap? Let's talk again when you wake up. Woo-young's eyes sharpened dangerously. His patience ended. It was time to finish this pointless resistance completely. Daejin groaned, barely conscious. Woo-young approached calmly. Have you already woken up? His voice carried clear warning. Fuck you, seriously. Daejin spat weakly. Around them, the crowd stood frozen, watching the final confrontation unfold. Woo-young raised his fist. Laughing coldly, he asked, Haha, are you ready? His presence felt overwhelming. Dejin braced himself. His thoughts screamed, he's going to hit me again, isn't he? Fear returned instantly. One final strike dropped the last challenger. Wu Yong stood alone, victorious over everyone without breaking focus. He spoke coldly. Notice how every time you open your eyes, your friends are in worse positions? Dejin clenched his fists, furious. You crazy son of a bitch. His pride couldn't accept this humiliation. How dare you? Dejin growled, pushing himself up, but another hit landed, sending him crashing down again. From the corner, another senior trembled. Fear swallowed his courage, unable to move or speak under pressure. The defeated students groaned in pain. One muttered, Dejin, please save us. Hope now rested on him. Wu Yong sneered, you don't matter to me, but your defeat matters to them. The pressure intensified. His voice turned darker. Now, should we try again? Dejin's confidence cracked under the rising tension. Dejin lowered his head. Fuck, I apologize, Hyung Nim. The word stung, but he couldn't resist anymore. Wu Yong turned away. You fail. Dejin flinched. What? But it was too late, his chance was gone. Dejin panicked. Wait, he stuttered, but Wu Yong didn't hesitate, his fist already moving mercilessly forward. One student groaned painfully. His pride crushed, his body refused to rise again after another brutal defeat. Others trembled, barely lifting their heads. Fear kept them bowing low, afraid of receiving further punishment. Wu Yong leaned back, completely composed. Okay, want to give it another try? His voice remained dangerously calm, breathing heavily. Dejin couldn't respond. His fists clenched, but his body wouldn't obey anymore. Defeated, Dejin knelt fully. Young Nim, he whispered. His pride broken as his hands pressed the ground. Wu Yong remained silent. Dejin's voice cracked. I apologize. I apologize, Sob. Please forgive me. Wu Yong calmly crossed his arms. Let's end it here, he said, completely satisfied with their submission. Thank you, the gang members cried. We'll do whatever you tell us. Please lead us now. Under the bright sky, Wu Yong stood above them all. A new boss had been officially crowned. Dejin stood slowly, defeated but respectful now. He waited for Wu Yong's final decision on their fate. Wu Yong declared firmly, from now on, all forms of bullying and abuse are prohibited at Hanyang High. Shock spread across the gang members' faces. Such a rule had never existed under their leadership before. Without hesitation, Wu Yong added, the gang must also permanently disband. His tone left no room for negotiation. Any complaints? Wu Yong asked, his calm yet commanding gaze sweeping across the silent defeated group before him. Dejin hesitated before speaking. Wu Yong's bold demand seemed to conflict with something far more serious. Dejin responded slowly, the disbandment of our gang's impossible, because it goes against the alliance. He bowed respectfully. Wu Yong narrowed his eyes. Alliance? He hadn't expected resistance tied to something larger than this school alone. Dejin explained, yes, it's a union of the 6 schools. Emblems of hidden powers flashed in Wu Yong's mind. He blinked. Wait, Jamnam High School? Isn't that a nationally recognized prestigious school? That kind of place? One student explained nervously. Actually, most students there are different from us. They aren't like regular fighters. He added cautiously, though. There is one really dangerous person at Jangan High School. Truly terrifying. The name echoed ominously. He goes by the name Cannon. His reputation alone silenced everyone completely. Wu Yong repeated the name, eyes narrowing. Cannon? For the first time, genuine curiosity appeared across his expression. Rumors spread quickly. A dangerous figure recently transferred to Jangan High School, causing immediate widespread concern. His name was Cannon, a silent figure surrounded by loyal fighters, commanding respect through overwhelming strength. Hearing the name, Wu Yong stiffened. His instincts screamed danger, remembering past encounters with notorious street legends. Students from nearby schools already submitted under Cannon's dominance. Resistance seemed foolish. His reputation crushed hope entirely. Wu Yong never cared about Jangan High's power struggles before, but Cannon's arrival changed everything, pulling him back. The trembling student explained leaving the alliance now would provoke Jangan's wrath. Like defying their established control, Wu Yong folded his arms, analyzing the situation carefully. Escaping this political entanglement clearly wouldn't be easy. This is more complicated than I thought, Wu Yong admitted quietly. He needed more information to assess possible outcomes. Tell me everything about Cannon, Wu Yong demanded. The student stood quickly, eager to explain everything he knew. He's a sophomore at Jangan. Real name Kang Sik-hun, but everyone calls him Cannon for obvious reasons. Dejin stared, serious and curious. Did you personally experience Cannon's strength? He asked with measured tone. The student nodded fearfully, recalling the devastating power. Cannon's opponents always collapsed immediately after one strike. Woo-young processed the unbelievable story. His power completely overwhelms in a single blow. That's truly concerning. Is there anyone at Jangan who can challenge Cannon? Woo-young questioned, seeking information on possible resistance. Only Yom Gite, a powerful third year, the student revealed. He's the strongest upperclassman remaining at Jangan. The student confessed, Cannon's the strongest, but he isn't the leader. Someone else holds that position. Explain everything clearly, Woo-young ordered, wanting to understand the true structure behind Jangan High's internal hierarchy. Yom Gite isn't ordinary. His family controls Jangan's businesses. Cannon's strength only enforces his father's influence. The student looked defeated. Cannon's incredible strength makes him Yom Gite's loyal enforcer. Nothing more than muscle. Now you understand why we can't act recklessly, the student sighed. Leaving the alliance invites disaster. The seated student suggested, let's rank him top among sophomores, securing his position against any challenge. Daejin narrowed his eyes. This proposal sounded suspiciously like grooming someone into becoming a powerful bully. Angered, Woo-young grabbed the student forcefully. Trying to make me part of this nonsense, he demanded, eyes sharp. The frightened student trembled and immediately apologized. His confidence collapsed under Jaehwan's intimidating and overwhelming presence. Woo-young released him, thinking carefully. Let's see. His next move needed precision to handle this chaos. Woo-young thought briefly before deciding. Fine, I'll settle this today, he declared confidently, surprising the watching students. Without hesitation, he ordered, call everyone. The command echoed, and tension immediately spread among the gathered students. Call all alliance members, Woo-young clarified. His expression remained calm, yet his tone carried undeniable authority and control. Confused and nervous, the student stammered, may I ask why? Fear filled his hesitant, trembling voice. Another student guessed nervously, are you going to explain our school's new system to them? Sweat poured instantly. Woo-young spoke coldly. If there's no alliance, there's no problem left to worry about. Simple solution. Shocked, the student stammered. What? He couldn't believe Jaehwan's words suggested dismantling the powerful established alliance. Another student panicked. Hyung-nim, excluding us, there are still 4 strong schools under that alliance. Even gathering everyone from our school, we'd barely have 50. They'll easily outnumber us completely, and if 3 among them match my strength, even without Cannon, we absolutely cannot win this fight. Right, Woo-young agreed. But there's a big difference in numbers, and they're already gathering because of you. Woo-young turned calmly. Who told you to fight? He asked, eyes sharp, voice colder than before. The crowd fell silent as Woo-young declared, I alone am enough. His confidence silenced every objection instantly. You mean you'll fight the entire alliance, including Cannon, by yourself? The student asked, stunned and pale. Yeah, that's right, Woo-young confirmed. The students panicked, shouting warnings. You shouldn't do that. It's too dangerous. Woo-young smirked calmly. Relax. There's no reason to panic until we're certain how things unfold. He continued, we'll talk first. See what their intentions are before jumping into unnecessary battles. Send a message to the alliance. Let's settle everything today if possible, Woo-young instructed confidently. Ask them to meet at 7 p.m. and... Woo-young paused, scanning the area for a suitable location. There's a vacant lot behind the school. Quiet in the evenings, the student suggested hesitantly, still worried. Woo-young walked forward confidently. Deliver the message just like that. No excuses, no changes, no delays. The student hesitated. Hyung-nim, please reconsider. Think this over. It's reckless, he pleaded, clearly shaken with worry. I'm just really worried for you, he confessed, looking up at Jaehwan. Concerned but respectful of him. The school bell rang loudly. Eh? Class already started? Woo-young asked, as if the moment wasn't tense. Sunwoo, come on. Let's go to class, Woo-young said casually, walking away while others remained stunned. Woo-young walked steadily. If I go to the empty lot at 7 p.m. and no one's there, you will all die. Understood? His words echoed with deadly seriousness, leaving no room for misunderstanding. The air grew heavier. Sunwoo nervously asked, Oh, are you really going to go there? He trembled slightly. Jaehwan's answer was simple and absolute. Understood. His decision was final, unshaken by anyone's concern. Tension snapped. Another student collapsed under pressure, overcome by fear, as panic rippled through the group. A student asked nervously, What should we do? The fear of Jaehwan's decision still haunted them. Another student hesitated. Should we really do what he said? Or should we just ignore tomorrow? If we avoid tomorrow, the alliance will control everything again. We'll lose any chance of freedom. He clenched his fist. When he learns the alliance's true leader, that's a fight even he can't take. Yeah, the other answered quietly. Their fate was sealed. The storm Woo-young brought couldn't be stopped now. Yom Gitai, boss of Jangan High, checked his phone calmly. His expression showed no concern whatsoever. A subordinate asked, "Did Daejin suddenly go crazy?" Gitai raised an eyebrow, showing mild interest. "Should we send cannon?" the subordinate offered. Gitai replied, "No need. Our school doesn't need him yet. Tell Songjo, Dowa, and Yunjae to handle it. Also remind them Jianggan High owns this town." He asked also tell them that until summer, Henyang High School should pay twice as much. As the school bell rang at sunset, tension thickened. The city prepared for something big and dangerous. Students in uniform marched through a wooded path, silent and focused. Each step echoed purpose and resolve. Weapons strapped to their backs, they advanced. These weren't average students, they came fully ready for battle. Jiang Yonggil, boss of Chinwoo Technical High, spotted the group. "Shit! What are they doing here?" Seeing no alternative, Yonggil muttered, "It can't be helped." As he braced himself for what's ahead, as the sun set, groups from various schools gathered, following a dirt path toward the looming confrontation ahead. "You here too?" a voice called out casually. Familiar faces kept appearing, tension rising with every step. Yoon Seonho, boss of Gisun High, waved casually despite the serious atmosphere forming around the gathering. Park Do-hun, boss of Dunggung Business High, sighed. "Had to come. Can't ignore the mess brewing here." Do-hun muttered, "Damn, I better train harder. Those Jianggan guys think they can control everything now." "Understood?" Yoon Seonho asked sharply. The gathered students quickly nodded, their response unified and respectful. "Yes, Senior Nim, we'll keep that in mind," they echoed back, standing firm despite the rising tension. "Because of Daejin, the guys at Jianggan are angrier than usual," one student muttered in frustration. Another asked, "Why provoke them when he knows he can't even fight against them properly?" Seonho shrugged. "Don't know. Let's wrap this up quick and grab a drink. I found a good place." The atmosphere grew heavy as Wu Yong calmly walked into the clearing, eyes scanning the assembled alliances. "Sorry I'm late. Got a little lost coming here," Wu Yong said casually, waving like nothing happened. Confused murmurs spread. "What?" Someone from the alliance struggled to understand the boldness before their eyes. "Who the hell?" one leader muttered, unable to place Jae-hwan's unfamiliar but strangely confident face. "Are you?" the man demanded, stepping forward. His eyes locked onto Jae-hwan, trying to assess the threat. Wu Yong stood tall, a confident smirk forming. He had arrived ready to face them all alone. Hyun Wu Yong stood confidently, wearing his uniform. Despite possible expulsion, he insisted everything remained perfectly fine. Annoyed, a gang leader snapped, ordering his men, "Bring out Daejin now, we're extremely busy here." Hyun Woo Young glanced at the gathering crowd, sighed, and calmly declared, "I'll handle everything completely alone." From the sidelines, a frustrated thug muttered angrily, "That useless Daejin doesn't even defend his own school." Irritated, the gang leader clenched his fist and growled, "Call him immediately. This nonsense ends tonight." The henchman checked his phone, frowned, and muttered, "That bastard Daejin turned his phone off again." Hyun Woo Young stepped forward calmly, explaining, "I sent him home. He wouldn't have been any help." Facing the confused group, Hyun Woo Young asked directly, "Tell me now, which one of you's cannon?" One thug panicked, scratching his head nervously, muttering, "I seriously don't know what's even happening here." The irritated henchman snapped loudly, "We're tense enough already. Stop asking questions and shut up immediately." A thug confidently stepped forward, cracking his knuckles, ready to settle things without further useless discussion. He warned Hyun Woo Young, "You look older, but whatever happens now, don't hold me responsible later." Trying to sound honorable, he added, "I'll formally apologize once we return to the alliance peacefully." Hyun Woo Young raised an eyebrow calmly, asking, "Oh? Is this supposed to be an act of kindness?" Without warning, the thug roared and lunged forward. Hyun Woo Young effortlessly countered with a sharp, precise strike. The surrounding group flinched in shock, watching their man collapse after one hit from Hyun Woo Young. Hyun Woo Young stared coldly and asked, "But what exactly do you plan to apologize for anyway?" He glanced at the unconscious thug. "I don't think there's anything needing apology," he added confidently. Pausing briefly, he continued, "Or maybe there is?" The tension rose again as he stepped forward. A new voice emerged. "You're not just an ordinary dumbass," he said, "but that guy meant something." Clenching his fist, the thug growled fiercely, "I'll break at least 3 of your useless bones today." Hyun Woo Young stood calmly, asking without hesitation, "Are you canon? I've already asked this question multiple times." The thug snapped, shouting, "Canon? My ass!" and immediately launched a powerful kick directly at Hyun Woo Young. The fight escalated fast. The thug unleashed relentless kicks, aiming to overpower Hyun Woo Young's calm, unshaken stance. Hyun Woo Young dodged, precisely countering smoothly, sending the thug flying through the air with brutal force. Hyun Woo Young calmly stepped forward again, unfazed by the ongoing tension and the collapsing defeated thug. He asked flatly, "You're not canon?" The thug stood silent, unable to answer or meet his eyes. Without hesitation, Hyun Woo-young landed a crushing blow, ending the confrontation before any further words were spoken. He glanced down coldly at the fallen man, stating clearly, "Then shut up. No more interruptions." Another thug gasped, his voice trembling. "What?" In just one blow. Fear spread rapidly among the remaining crowd. Hyun Woo-young faced the group. "They say Cannon's the best among you. Where is he now?" He stepped forward confidently, scanning the uneasy crowd. "I want to meet him. Who is Cannon?" A thug hesitated before admitting quietly, "He's not here." His words caused instant confusion across the entire group. Confused, Hyun Woo-young asked, "What?" Another thug explained, "Cannon doesn't handle Hanyang matters personally. I do." Raising an eyebrow, Hyun Woo-young responded sharply, "Oh, is that so? Then you guys are nothing important?" A thug admitted seriously, "Yes, we're from the three schools, excluding Jongan Hai's direct involvement here." Hyun Woo-young sighed deeply, unimpressed. "The elite? Such a waste," he muttered, clearly disappointed with their performance. Furious, the gang members stepped forward, shouting angrily, "What? This bastard!" Unable to tolerate the humiliation anymore, without hesitation, Hyun Woo-young raised his hand calmly and declared, "I can't just let you leave." Confused and frustrated, one thug asked nervously, "What?" Their confidence wavered as Hyun Woo-young's dominance became undeniable. Hyun Woo-young stood tall and unfazed. "Make sure to bring Cannon," he said, voice steady. Turning away, he declared casually, "I'll be going first. See you all tomorrow," leaving them stunned. A thug shouted furiously, "Where do you think you're going?" trying to stop his calm departure. Hyun Woo-young answered plainly, "Home." His expression never changed, like he hadn't even been in a fight. One thug gritted his teeth, frustrated. "This bastard has a real talent for pissing people off." The group charged forward recklessly, shouting loudly. Hyun Woo-young stood still, waiting for their predictable mistakes. Hyun Woo-young sighed, quickly analyzing. 2, maybe 3 dozen of them? This is getting slightly dangerous now. Without hesitation, he launched his counterattack, flipping an attacker effortlessly through the air with overwhelming strength. The thug landed hard, groaning in pain. Others hesitated, realizing they severely underestimated their true opponent. Hyun Woo-young straightened his jacket, muttering calmly, "Well, I guess I can't just let this go." Watching their comrades fall, the remaining gang members panicked. "This is crazy. What a psycho," someone whispered fearfully. Another thug lunged forward recklessly, shouting, "Stop bluffing, you bastard!" He raised a wooden plank to attack. Hyun Woo-young countered instantly, his powerful strike sending the attacker crashing to the ground without any resistance. Observing the fearful thugs, Hyun Woo-young calmly declared, "Those who want to live, gently hit him instead." No one dared move. Hyun Woo-young stood unchallenged, his overwhelming presence freezing everyone in fearful hesitation. Despite trembling, one desperate thug charged forward, yelling wildly to muster courage for his reckless attack. Hyun Woo-young calmly dodged and delivered a precise, punishing strike, dropping the thug instantly with brutal efficiency. Another foolish attacker attempted the same, only to meet the same devastating result, collapsing from Hyun's counterattack. One by one, the attackers fell. Hyun Woo-young remained standing strong, completely unbothered by their failed efforts. Hyun Woo-young sighed, surveying the fallen bodies. "If anything," he muttered, preparing to deliver his final statement. Hyun Woo-young's cold stare unsettled the remaining thugs. None dared move under his intense, unwavering gaze. Suddenly, loud screams echoed as the few who rushed forward were instantly defeated with overwhelming force. Hyun Woo-young's counterattacks flowed relentlessly, his movements sharp and devastating. Thugs flew back helplessly, unable to react. Within moments, the ground was littered with defeated bodies. Hyun Woo-young remained untouched amidst the chaos. Watching helplessly, a terrified thug muttered, "He's so strong. I understand why Daejin never showed up." One thug swallowed hard, realizing the situation was hopeless. "Right. This isn't going how we expected." Another thug agreed nervously, "Right. That guy's beyond dangerous. Fighting him feels completely pointless now." Watching the chaos, one muttered, "Even if he's weaker than Cannon, he's still a terrifying monster." Glancing at each other, they asked cautiously, "So, what should we do? Should we join the fight?" One cracked his knuckles, asking directly, "Me first, or you?" The atmosphere grew even more dangerously tense. A thug clenched his jaw, frustrated. "We can't do anything one at a time against him." Accepting reality, another muttered, "It hurts our pride, but that guy's clearly stronger than all of us. So, let's attack him together and finish this quickly," one thug suggested, gripping his weapon tightly. "Sounds good," they agreed. "I'll go from the left," one added. "Then, I'll go from the right." With a loud roar, they charged toward Hyun Woo-young, determined to end things once and for all. The thugs roared in unison, charging recklessly. "Let's crush these punks!" Their desperation echoed across the battlefield. "We're gonna end this!" The leader shouted again, forcing his men forward despite their growing fear. Yun Wuyong stood firm, his eyes sharp and cold. Calmly, he prepared to finish everything decisively.
Wu Yang walked in as the floor shook. Another pointless brawl was already heating up fast. Feet slammed the ground behind him. A dozen guys charged like they had something to prove. His eyes moved calmly, tracking every step like a dance he'd already mastered long ago. One swung hard, missed. Wu Yang moved like wind, then countered without even shifting his balance. Bodies hit dirt. He kept moving, like it was just another long day in school. Another kick came flying and Wu Yang dodged, lifted, and dropped his opponent like throwing trash away. The crowd around him didn't know whether to fight harder or run for their lives. Dirt flew as fists clashed, but Wu Yang stayed calm, landing blows with clean, practiced rhythm. He stood straight after the chaos, watching three of them groan in pain on ground. The circle widened around him, a quiet space formed from fear more than respect. One guy twitched on the ground, thinking maybe studying wasn't such a bad life choice. Wu Yang scanned the faces around him, half still ready, half already giving up without words. Everything slowed down. No one moved. The night air felt heavy but strangely peaceful now. No one dared step forward again, not after watching him dismantle their pride so easily. Wu Yang turned to leave, the sky dim above him, fists loose, peace finally earned again. Wu Yang bent down briefly, brushing off dirt like he was closing a normal school day. The others watched, frozen, his calm exit somehow more terrifying than the chaos he left behind. He walked through them like nothing happened, the sunset painting gold on his back. Behind him, a few students dropped to their knees, unsure if pride was worth it. He paused, smirked slightly, then remembered something small that still needed to be handled. Trees rustled as he moved downhill, finally out of that noisy, dust-filled clearing. Wu Yang loosened his tie slightly, the tension in his shoulders fading step by step. His hand reached into his jacket, checking something instinctively old habits, always sharp and steady. A buzz in his pocket broke the silence, right on cue like it always does. He glanced down, recognizing the name before the screen even lit up completely. Sandojeok calling. Elsewhere, lights flickered outside a restaurant where things were about to shift again. Quiet didn't last. Inside, tempers rose fast. A man stood yelling loud enough to make heads turn. His anger shot through the room, accusing someone who wasn't even there to respond. Another man muttered to himself, annoyed and trying to ignore the whole dramatic outburst. The pink shirt guy kept yelling, completely unaware that trouble was quietly walking through the door. Inside the kitchen, Wu Yang watched calmly as the man in pink kept shouting and pacing. The guy grumbled nonstop, clearly thinking everyone else was the reason his life felt stressful. Wu Yang stood silently, letting the tension build like a pot slowly about to boil. His words weren't loud, but they landed sharp. The room's energy suddenly shifted off balance. The man froze, surprised. Wu Yang looked straight through him, calm like he'd already decided something important. A phone flashed in Wu Yang's hand, and his voice finally cut through the noise. That name, that moment, suddenly everything clicked. The pink shirt guy started sweating like summer hit early. Wu Yang explained without a twitch. Something simple but heavy filled the space between them now. The man stumbled back, trying to regain control that had already quietly slipped from him. Wu Yang stood relaxed, knowing exactly where this conversation would end, just not how loud it'd get. The guy snapped, stomping off, dragging the moment towards someplace more private and less embarrassing. Wu Yang followed without a rush. The hallway echoed quietly with nothing but their footsteps. Inside the back room, things escalated fast. One sudden move, and the man dropped hard. He crouched in pain, dazed, while Wu Yang stood there brushing off his own jacket sleeves. No damage done, but the message was clear. Wu Yang wasn't one to bluff anything. The guy tried to act tough again, but his nerves cracked with every second passing. Wu Yang didn't blink, simply moved forward with purpose that made even silence feel heavy. One swift kick dropped him again, no hesitation, just clear cause and effect in action. Wu Yang looked down calmly, like a teacher expecting someone to finally figure out basic math. Lesson was simple: understand your mistake, or repeat it with bruises as the main feedback. The man twisted on the floor, pain making him rethink everything from today to childhood. Wu Yang stepped closer, still waiting. This wasn't punishment, it was a forced moment of clarity. No answer, another hit. Still clueless, then maybe the body will learn before the brain. A shout cracked the air, desperation finally catching up to the guy's worn-out pride. Wu Yang stared down. This wasn't over until the man could say exactly what he'd done. He stammered, panicking, trying to piece together excuses while still clutching his sore side. Wu Yang tilted his head, unimpressed. Vague answers were just invitations for longer conversations. He pressed harder, not physically, just with presence. Like truth was the only option left now. The man broke, blurting names and situations faster than he could filter them. Guilt poured out he'd helped torment a student instead of standing up against the bullies. The truth came out he'd ignored the victim's pain just to save a little money. Woo Young's stare didn't budge. Cheap choices often cost the most when regret finally hits. The man curled on the floor, guilt sinking in faster than the bruises ever could. He whimpered apologies, but they bounced off the cold tile like they meant nothing anymore. Woo Young sighed, disappointment heavier than anger. Forgiveness sounded close, but action still carried weight. The moment passed. Woo Young reached down not to help, but to make a final point. The guy screamed again, caught in a grip tighter than any words could ever manage. Woo Young stayed calm, composed as always, his eyes reminding him this wasn't over yet. He stood up, looking at the man like he wasn't worth another second wasted. Leaving him sprawled out, Woo Young dropped a choice: report him or reflect and carry the shame. Woo Young straightened his tie, then gave one last task: repay everything that had been taken. The man nodded frantically, eager to please now that fear finally had a name. He stayed down, whispering promises like prayer, wishing this would just be a nightmare. Woo Young walked off quietly, the city night swallowing him as lights flickered awake. Shoes tapped the pavement steady, unfazed. Just another night, another lesson, another wrong almost made right. Woo Young's eyes looked distant, the city lights behind him barely keeping the tiredness away. He walked through the night, surrounded by shadows, wishing peace didn't always cost this much. Rain fell hard, soaking the streets, like even the sky couldn't hold it together. Woo Young stood quietly, umbrella open, watching the puddles ripple with each passing gust of wind. His face stayed calm, but the weight of the night followed him with every step. The glow of the convenience store welcomed him like a quiet break from all chaos. A girl behind the counter noticed him, eyes curious but used to seeing tired faces. He placed his things down gently, shoulders damp, like he'd walked through hours of silence. The counter lights flickered softly as he waited, hand resting on the edge, completely unfazed. The girl looked up slowly, her expression sharp, catching a familiar trace she couldn't ignore. A pause lingered while she processed it. School clothes meant trouble, and she was usually right. He scratched the back of his head, feeling the tension rise like steam from rain. Another figure stepped out, shaking water off his jacket like a dog that hated manners. His shirt clung tight, but it was the pants that caught her attention the most. She tilted her head, unimpressed, assuming it was just another guy pretending to look tough. He froze, misreading the look, thinking she wanted proof, like pants were part of the deal. Awkward tension filled the room fast, broken only by Woo Young counting coins with dry calm. The cashier tapped the register, tired eyes signaling it was time for him to leave. Woo Young placed something else on the counter, still calm, like he wasn't quite done yet. The bottle clinked softly, an extra purchase, maybe thoughtful, maybe just another habit on repeat. He turned, leaving the drink behind without looking back, footsteps disappearing into the rainy evening. She stood still for a moment, hand on the counter, unsure what to even feel. Outside, rain kept falling, soaking his hair as he walked like nothing mattered anymore anyway. He lit a cigarette with shaky hands, the flame barely holding under the wind. One deep breath later, smoke mixed with the rain, and thoughts started to spiral fast. Cursing low under his breath, Woo Young pushed forward, chasing silence between neon signs and thunder. The next morning, light broke over concrete walls, cold sun rising on another day behind bars. Goma lay in the grass, staring up, wondering if things would finally change this time. He stretched out slow, feeling sun on his face like freedom had already arrived early. Woo Young sat beside him, arms folded, waiting for the gate like it owed him something. Goma asked quietly what came next, future plans, dreams, or just surviving a little longer. With a sigh, Woo Young leaned back, already sure he didn't want anyone else steering this. Lying on the bench, Woo Young casually mentioned his plan to return to high school again. Goma blinked, confused. It sounded like a joke, but Woo Young looked completely serious about it. He tilted his head, questioning the logic. 3 more years just to get a diploma, plenty of shortcuts existed. But Woo Young clearly wanted to take the long road on purpose. Woo Young leaned forward, almost proud he had a plan, and it started exactly where it ended. He held up 2 fingers, explaining high school and graduating were 2 different kinds of dreams. There were things he still wanted, boring things, normal things, stuff he never got to try. Sitting on the bench, he looked up at nothing, imagining something like an average life. Goma wasn't convinced normal didn't suit someone like Woo Young, not with his story, not anymore. Back in the rain, Woo Young laughed bitterly, funny how confidence always hits hardest before the fall. Rain sizzled on the cigarette's edge, the moment hanging between flames, smoke, and soaking regret. The rain hadn't let up, and neither had the weight pressing behind Woo Young's ribs. Looking up, he mumbled a thought: too many dreams. not enough strength left to chase them. A gust flipped a trash bag, wind mocking him as he stood there feeling small. He kept walking, shoes soaked, heart heavier. He really thought things would be different this time. Morning sun warmed the school courtyard, but Woo Young already felt the air turning cold. Behind closed doors, he faced the counselor, who looked like he expected this from day one. Disappointment was written all over the man's face, but Woo Young didn't offer any defense. Paperwork sat ready on the table, another expulsion process, dressed up as proper school procedure. Across from each other, silence hung heavy, but the decision was practically made already anyway. The counselor leaned in with disdain, sharp words hidden behind a professional tone and pressed collar. Woo Young said nothing, his clenched jaw holding back 1,000 thoughts he didn't want released yet. The counselor kept going, assuming silence meant guilt, throwing judgment without ever asking what really happened. He demanded answers, volume rising, unaware that some fights start quiet and explode when pushed harder. Woo Young's stare sharpened. He hadn't planned to argue, but staying silent suddenly didn't feel right. He spoke up calm at first, laying out what he'd seen, the things everyone else ignored. The counselor snapped back, flustered, defending the school's image instead of confronting the actual mess. Woo Young stood his ground, eyes steady, calling out the abuse others just brushed off. He exposed a scheme students exploited by bullies and business ties hiding behind the school name. The counselor blinked in disbelief, cornered not by fists but by facts no longer buried. Woo Young sat upright, words finally coming out calm but sharp, cutting straight through the counselor's pride. He stared dead on, asking directly, was it ignorance or intentional neglect that caused all this? The counselor's face twitched, his authority cracked under pressure, voice trembling behind forced professionalism. Woo Young stayed firm. Being young didn't mean he had to stay quiet or stay small. He leaned back, arms crossed, flipping the conversation he didn't ask for but wouldn't dodge either. He spoke clearly now, saying his actions may not be right, but they brought change. Innocent students weren't paying for protection anymore, or walking halls like prey among wolves. The bullying stopped not because of school rules, but because someone finally pushed back harder. He slammed the desk, not out of rage, but to prove he meant every word. Admitting he wasn't perfect, Woo Young still believed sometimes wrong actions fix what good ones couldn't. His hands trembled, frustration bubbling. Knowing pain gave him understanding that rules never taught. He locked eyes with the man, calling out the failure of silence and authority. Woo Young reminded him a teacher should lead, not hide, not stay blind behind polished titles. If a student could fight back for others, then why couldn't the adults help with a breath? He leaned forward, voice lower. If expulsion's coming, they better make it count. The counselor's silence lingered, but Woo Young's words echoed loud in that tight, sterile room. Meanwhile, a new day started at school. Calm skies hiding storms waiting just behind the gate. Outside the campus, another group watched from afar, gossiping over clips from their phones. They laughed at the video, but their eyes narrowed. This wasn't just some internet joke. The screen showed Woo Young serious, bold, too calm for someone they expected to break quickly. The group's leader grinned. He didn't like surprises, especially ones that talked back with confidence. He nodded once, and the others moved, no hesitation, just steps rehearsed like a daily routine. They approached fast, shoulders squared, ready to test this transfer's reputation the old-fashioned way. One stepped up, cracking knuckles, the vibe thick with bravado, pre-fight silence louder than shouting. The leader leaned back in his seat, casual but sharp. He always handled problems personally. Kang Suk-shi stood tall, calm but intimidating. His presence alone changed the air around him. Suk-shi stood beside the table, eyes steady, listening to what the upperclassman wanted explained. Suk-shi asked how many were causing trouble, his tone calm but carrying a silent warning. Suk-shi answered with a smirk. One person couldn't be counted as a real group. They sat back down together, tension lingering. But Suk-shi didn't flinch under the weight. If it was just one, Suk-shi wondered why others even bothered getting involved anymore. Gite scoffed, sensing Suk-shi wasn't the same kid he once pushed around easily. Without raising his voice, Suk-shi mentioned dinner plans made long before this encounter. Gite looked unimpressed, brushing off the mention of family, clearly not expecting resistance today. Suk-shi stayed composed, talking about the reservation and how long it had been. The upperclassman called his name sharply, waiting to hear if he'd still follow the order. Suk-shi's refusal came firm, not angry, just certain this wasn't how his day should go. He said no, simple and final, without needing to raise his voice at all. Gite gave one last chance to comply, pretending it was just a quick errand. With glowing eyes, Suk-shi promised he'd finish things in 10 minutes, no more, no less. Gite smirked, enjoying the confidence, even if he didn't quite believe it yet. Woo Young sat down hard, the day's weight finally hitting after everything that had unfolded earlier. empty cans scattered beside him, a sign that the evening wasn't going as planned. His friend said nothing, just stared out across the river as silence lingered between them. Woo-young's phone buzzed, the sudden vibration snapping him out of his distant thoughts. He answered quietly, his voice calm, unsure of what he really wanted to say. The voice on the line asked if he was okay, sounding a little concerned. Woo-young looked ahead, wondering when his answers started getting so hard to explain. Back in school, sure, but everything still felt as uncertain as the day he left. His name being spoken again, with that familiar tone, made him feel oddly grounded. He smiled faintly, admitting it might already be too late to fix what happened. Woo-young took one last swig and stood up, the breeze brushing past his shoulders. His head spun a bit from the drinks, but he tried to shake it off. It didn't matter anymore, he told himself nothing would really shift from here anyway. Others were already walking ahead, their shadows stretching across the ground like a quiet warning. In the distance, the field waited, surrounded by trees, filled with more than just people. A group approached with confidence, their leader asking if they'd been kept waiting too long. Gitai was surprised to see them, especially considering how their last fight ended badly. They admitted their loss, awkwardly blaming their defeat on not having enough backup support. The old dynamic returned quickly, grins, teasing, and a few bruised egos mixed in. Sikshi leaned in, casually remarking how long it's been since things felt this familiar. The guy with the bandage smirked, but inside, his thoughts were anything but friendly. His old rival spat words full of venom, not expecting Sokche to stand firm. From behind, someone called out, puzzled by Gitai's bruised and battered-looking face. Gitai looked up, confused, only to catch a fist as a reminder. Sokche struck quick, not out of anger, but to reset the tone of respect. With a grin, Sokche told him to smile. Pain looked worse when you frowned. Gitai winced, caught between pride and fear, trying to smile through the ache. The group watched closely, the atmosphere shifting with Sokche's calm but commanding presence. Gitai nodded quickly, understanding what smiling meant in this situation. Cooperate, or get flattened again. Others stood frozen, wondering quietly to themselves just how dangerous Sokche had become now. Sokche looked around, wondering where the guy they were all talking about had gone. One of them nervously pointed out that the guy had already arrived quietly. Everyone turned, confused, spotting Woo-young sprawled out, seemingly asleep on the dirt. He groaned a little, still out of it, while someone tried to explain. Turns out he drank too much and ended up lying there on his own. Someone nervously added that Woo-young had asked to be carried to the fight location. Another chimed in, unsure if he could actually win anything in this condition. Sokche snapped, yelling about how ridiculous they looked after talking so big earlier. The group got scolded hard, embarrassed by how quickly they lost their edge. In the corner, one guy whispered that Sokche hadn't changed, still terrifying when serious. Meanwhile, Woo-young sat up, chuckling softly as if none of it was his problem. He glanced at the crowd, recognizing a few new faces among the usual ones. Apologizing lazily, he blamed the drinks, not quite ready to deal with reality. Holding his stomach, he slowly stood, asking them to come at him all together. Smiling tiredly, he figured fighting everyone at once would be less of a hassle. Before the insults escalated, a calm voice stepped in, asking permission to handle it directly. Everyone turned, spotting Gitai walking forward with his usual quiet but intimidating presence. Confused, Sokche blinked, but casually gave the okay with a shrug and tired nod. Gitai thanked him, walking past the crowd as they cleared a path without hesitation. Woo-young smirked, already standing, saying he'd wrap this up quick. There were things he had planned. Cannon braced himself, then charged suddenly, fist raised, clearly not planning to hold anything back. Woo-young shouted about his stomach pain, but his fist swung just as fast. Sokche attacked, but Woo-young ducked under, sharp instincts kicking in despite the buzz. Woo-young muttered his little chant mid-move, his focus locked on the fight alone. His dodge surprised Sokche, who wasn't expecting that level of reflex in his condition. Woo-young countered with a grin, throwing a punch that landed clean across Gitai's jaw. He calmly judged Cannon strong for his age, sure, but not much beyond that. Their arms locked next, strength against precision, the tension in the air thickening quickly. Cannon's eyes widened, realizing too late just how fast Woo-young could strike back. The punch landed with a thud, cracking through the moment like a wake-up call. Woo-young crossed his arms fast, bracing for the blow, muscles tensing from pure instinct. The strike landed hard, but Woo-young countered with swift force, slamming Sokche down effortlessly. From a distance, others watched, impressed and surprised, realizing the fight had already shifted. The reactions were mixed, some stunned, some amused, none expecting things to escalate so fast. Cannon sat up groggily, while Woo-young waited, not gloating, just calmly ready for the next step. Woo-young brushed his head slowly, surprised someone actually managed to land a clean hit on him. Cannon stood tall in silence, eyes locked, the air between them thick with tension. Woo Young took a hit, staggered slightly, wondering how that punch burned so much. Wiping sweat, he realized this guy wasn't like the others he'd knocked out easily. The crowd mumbled, impressed by how fast their fists moved, barely visible to the eye. Two kids in the back whispered, calling both fighters monsters without a hint of sarcasm. Min-jae frowned, unable to read Woo Young's rhythm. Each move felt like a wild guess. Woo Young heard the noise behind him, but his focus stayed locked on the fight. With calm eyes, he promised to try harder, not for pride, just to finish clean. His opponent blinked, shocked Woo Young hadn't even been serious until now. The energy shifted. A strike came fast, and screams echoed before anyone understood. Woo Young ducked low, then rose like a storm, his body weaving like a blade. His rival tightened his fist, determined not to be left behind in this match. But Woo Young grabbed his arm mid-swing, fluid like he'd done it 100 times. With a quick lift, he tossed him skyward like throwing out trash. The rival spun mid-air, too stunned to recover before gravity had its way. Woo Young stood ready again, chest rising slow, eyes calm, waiting for the next move. Woo Young's foot thudded down, barely landing as he twisted away from a brutal counterattack. A split second faster, and he'd be face first in the dirt with broken ribs. He exhaled sharply, regretting underestimating how far this fight would push his limits. It had been forever since he fought seriously, like his life actually depended on it. He glanced around, realizing these guys fought to live, not for pride or status. Woo Young burst forward, legs cutting through air like blades, leaving dust clouds behind him. His opponent followed, launching high, determined to match every step, every breath. The impact of their clash rippled outward like a thunderclap across the empty field. They spun midair, a blur of arms and instinct as tension pulled tighter. The landing hit hard dirt flying, fists tight, neither willing to give ground even slightly. In the crowd, tension thickened as jaws clenched. No one wanted to blink and miss. Woo Young's friends watched, realizing this wasn't someone who could be dropped with just muscle. He hadn't suffered like them, but his instincts moved like he'd been through fire anyway. He had that weird natural feel, like his body just knew what to do. But the other guy grinned this time. He'd use Woo Young's gifted body against him. Woo Young took a solid hit, knees wobbling, but his stance stayed rooted to the dirt. He crouched low, breathing heavy, just barely dodged something that would have wrecked anyone else. Eyes shifted. Everyone watching knew something serious just shifted between the two fighters. His opponent stood straight, finally admitting this was his first time going all in. Even now, he wouldn't go down easy, not to someone untested like Woo Young. A voice cut through the crowd. Someone called out for Kang Seok-jae, eyes sharp. Seok-jae smirked, surprised he'd forgotten there were still others around watching. Tension rose, fists clenched. Seok-jae's name echoed as tempers flared around the circle. They demanded he get up, like pride alone should force him back into the fight. Woo Young stood taller, tired of watching others push someone else to do their dirty work. Someone nearby warned Seok-jae he was walking a fine line, close to getting tossed out. The crowd thinned slightly as boots shuffled, everyone bracing for what might come next. Woo Young narrowed his eyes. Seok-jae had talked a lot, but now it was go time. With one step, Woo Young surged forward, no hesitation, no pause, just pure momentum. Gritting his teeth, Seok-jae whispered to himself he wasn't ready to lose. Not like this. Seok-jae stood silently, weighing every second, knowing his answer would ripple through the crowd. Woo Young faced them all, unbothered by their anger, eyes calm, shoulders relaxed like usual. One guy cracked, screaming for blood, desperate for someone to restore their broken pride. Threats flew, shouting about family and shame, like guilt would power the next punch. Seok-jae lowered his eyes, muttering he'd handle it, wondering if kindness was his mistake. He clenched his fists tighter, questioning if he'd ever even had a real fight before. The two stepped forward, quiet but electric tension rising between every breath and step. Seok-jae struck out hard, no holding back, pushing his whole weight behind the swing. Woo Young dodged and countered sharp, fluid, fast, each movement fueled by grit, not anger. But Seok-jae smiled grimly, knowing this wasn't going to end with one clean shot. He rolled his shoulders, planning something deeper this time. The rhythm wouldn't break again. Woo Young scanned his stance, too calm, too focused. Something was definitely coming. Seok-jae unleashed punches like a storm, fast and heavy, never letting the rhythm slow. Woo Young tried to guard, but each hit chipped away more speed, more pressure, more pain. Knees buckling slightly, Woo Young exhaled, surprised by the force. Finally, this was a real challenge. Bandaged spectators watched quietly as Seok-jae stood over Woo Young, heart pounding from the pressure. He admitted he didn't want this, but Seok-jae's strength left him no other option. Wu Yong struggled to rise, knees shaking, his eyes still focused, refusing to give in. Seokshi blinked, surprised Wu Yong was even conscious, much less preparing to throw another punch. With a roar, Wu Yong surged forward again. No hesitation, he couldn't afford another mistake. Wu Yong winced, caught by a strike he didn't see coming, breath knocked out instantly. Wu Yong clenched tighter, not letting go this time, pushing forward with pure grit. Seokshi staggered but still met the attack head-on, fists flying in desperate rhythm. With a fierce shout, he punched through again, aiming directly for Wu Yong's jaw. Wu Yong dropped low, eyes blazing, countering with a fist that screamed, "Enough is enough!" The fight slowed, heavy breathing, battered bodies, a quiet circle of watchers around the dirt ring. Wu Yong hunched, chest rising and falling, sweat pouring like rain down his temple. He glanced over at Seokshi, laid out on the ground, finally silent. Wu Yong stood tall again, muttering an apology, knowing he'd barely made it in time. In the distance, someone grinned, claiming Seokshi still couldn't be beaten, not without a miracle. The crowd parted as Seokshi stood again, bruised but still walking like he wasn't done. He muttered it had been ages since he felt this kind of burn all over. Seokshi smirked, admitting Wu Yong was tougher than most definitely earned his respect tonight. Gitae looked up as Seokshi called out, something different flashing behind his usual calm stare. With a crooked grin, Wu Yong made an offer, a bet that'd change everything going forward. Wu Yong stood firm, flashing a grin like he had nothing to lose tonight. The group was stunned, one guy against many, still acting like he held the cards. Wu Yong played it off casually, owning up like mischief was part of his routine. He didn't bother asking. The fight was already set in his mind, no backing. If Wu Yong lost, it was over. But if he won, they'd follow his lead. Cannon's stare turned sharp, cold. He rejected Wu Yong's offer without missing a beat. Wu Yong shrugged, unbothered. He knew something about Cannon that made this more interesting. The tension thickened. Everyone could feel it, especially when Wu Yong poked at the truth. Cannon stayed distant, refusing to give Wu Yong the satisfaction of a clear answer. Still, he stepped forward, game face on. He was ready to throw down hard. Then came another voice, someone different, not backing down but challenging the whole setup. He wanted to know what would Wu Yong offer in return for this risky deal. Wu Yong didn't hesitate. He promised loyalty, the real kind. No loopholes, no backing out. The word forever dropped heavy, even for Wu Yong. But he smiled like he meant it. Cannon squinted at him. Could Wu Yong actually keep that promise? Was he ready for it? Gitae thought quietly if Wu Yong really lost, having him as backup might be useful. He figured there's no real loss either way. Cannon always wins, right? Probably. With nothing at stake, he leaned back and let the scene unfold on its own. Cannon stood strong, maybe nervous, but sure he'd do whatever it took to win. Wu Yong gave a nod, that smug, don't forget our deal kind of energy. The crowd held their breath. Wu Yong stretched, asking if they should just get started. Cannon didn't answer. The air was tense, thicker than before, like time paused. Wu Yong joked that the earlier hit sobered him up better than any coffee could. He cracked his knuckles, playful smirk fading. From now on, he'd be serious. Cannon didn't flinch. He just said it, whatever, that's your business. Do what you want. Wu Yong launched first, blazing speed, no hesitation, fists flying faster than most could even follow. The others stared in shock. Cannon was getting rocked and couldn't land a counter. Gitae blinked hard. Cannon was just tanking hits like a punching bag, nothing graceful. This was a first for everyone watching Wu Yong fight like that, unreal speed and power. Then boom, a clean hit landed. Bodies collided, the ground shook. It was officially real now. Wu Yong's fist swung clean, sharp, fast, landing with a force that echoed across the field. Cannon gritted his teeth, narrowly dodging, but Wu Yong's strikes came without breaks or warning. He crouched, thinking fast. Watching wouldn't help anymore. He had to move first now. Cannon took a breath, clearing distractions, eyes narrowing as he searched for his shot. Timing had to be perfect. One mistake, and he'd go down without a second chance. Wu Yong rushed again, fully focused, knowing the opening might not stay open for long. Another heavy blow landed. Cannon winced but kept his stance grounded just enough. Wu Yong caught the twitch. There were still weak spots, even in a guarded stance like that. He moved like a blur, hands finding the smallest gaps with pinpoint pressure. The crowd watched, stunned. The pace was wild. The air was tight with tension. From the sidelines, voices yelled, wondering why Cannon wasn't throwing anything back yet. The others couldn't understand it, looked one-sided, like Cannon forgot how to swing. One guy whispered, calling him stupid. Another realized maybe he just couldn't move well anymore. Cannon braced himself. His body ached, but he'd taken worse and still stayed standing. Deep inside, he repeated one line, "Just wait. The right moment will end everything." Cannon covered up, bracing, but Wu Yong's footwork closed the distance in a blink. The hit landed flush. Cannon's jaw turned, balance slipping with the sudden impact. A deep shot to the ribs folded him. He gasped, pain riding down his spine. The crowd flinched as Cannon dropped, heavy and awkward, like the air had been knocked out. Even Gitae's cocky grin faded. He hadn't expected that kind of shutdown from Wu Yong. The others watched, stiff, unsure if they were seeing something crazy or historic unfold. Wu Yong smiled, asking if that stung, totally calm while Cannon struggled to breathe properly. He called it a liver shot. Nobody walks away from one of those clean. Cannon knelt, trembling, but his eyes weren't empty. He waited, biting down every breath. Then came the roar, that last swing, his whole body flung with reckless energy. Wu Yong reeled back as Cannon surged forward, adrenaline screaming. This was his only window. Cannon shouted inside, "This is it, now or never," and threw everything into the tackle. The takedown slammed both into the ground, a raw crash echoing like thunder. From behind, someone cheered wildly. Finally, a hit that might flip the whole scene. But Cannon's body jerked back in pain, cut short by a fist in motion. Cannon gritted his teeth, throwing wild strikes while still caught in Wu Yong's unrelenting rhythm. He told himself this was the end, one final swing to flip the script. Wu Yong caught the tension. Cannon had endured everything just to deliver one desperate blow. He raised his arms again, realizing Cannon was tougher than anyone gave him credit for. Wu Yong smirked. He was ready to fight until someone dropped, no matter how long. Cannon grappled hard, flipping Wu Yong and locking him down before the tide shifted again. Wu Yong gasped. Cannon's strength came back fast, fists turning sharp even from the ground. But Wu Yong stayed calm, deciding if he couldn't win by force, he'd win by choke. Cannon tried holding out, blood rushing, vision spinning, counting seconds with clenched teeth. Inside, his mind screamed just a little longer. "Don't quit now, you've come this far." Silence followed the tap. Cannon's hand dropped, finally giving in to the crushing hold. Wu Yong slowly stood, sweat clinging to his shirt like a badge of survival. He glanced back once, nodded, and stepped toward the rest of the quiet crowd. It took longer than expected, but the result was clear and nobody dared question it. Wu Yong stared down at Cannon, reminding him the deal still stood, whether tired or not. Gitai yelled across the field, voice shaking with panic, trying to wake up Cannon. He called him useless, barking commands like a bad coach blaming the scoreboard. Wu Yong stood calm, watching Gitai's outburst without flinching, casually announcing the fight was over. Gitai cursed under his breath, realizing things were slipping fast and pride wouldn't save him now. With a snarl, he pointed forward, calling the others to rush Wu Yong together. The group froze, glancing at each other, unsure if charging made them brave or dumb. Gitai barked again, 3 of them, 1 of him. The math seemed easy enough, but no one moved. Every face was stuck between fear and loyalty in limbo. Gitai's expression cracked. Even his crew was hesitating. The vibe had officially flipped. Wu Yong stared silently, the look of someone who'd already fought harder odds without blinking once. Gitai snapped, throwing punches like a kid late for curfew, rage without much direction. He charged like a train off track, forgetting he doesn't move without a reason. The others flinched, dodging blows they weren't built for. Some fights just weren't theirs to win. He stepped forward, slow but sharp-eyed, already knowing Gitai's fury wasn't all that deep. Yom Gitai shouted like he was still in control, but Wu Yong's silence said otherwise. Gitai barked orders with volume over logic, the kind of leader nobody listens to twice. The bruised crew gathered, unsure whether to follow or finally choose a smarter path forward. Not to Gitai, but toward a better option in Wu Yong's steady calm. He stayed quiet, letting them make up their own minds. He never needed to convince. Gitai saw the shift too late by then. Wu Yong's fist was already in motion. Word spread fast. Whole schools dropped pride, lined up like kids ready to join a club. One stepped up, offering surrender like a note passed under a classroom desk. They all bowed, hoping to trade bruises for backup, fear for someone to believe in. He stood there, wondering who made this group project decision without checking in first. Gitai flew in again, loud and sloppy, like a final tantrum before lights out. The tall guy shrugged like it wasn't his problem anymore, tossing leadership like old shoes. He pointed at Wu Yong, handing over the spotlight as if it came with instructions. Wu Yong's brow twitched. More responsibility wasn't exactly part of his chill plans this afternoon. One dude stepped up, eyes locked on Gitai, asking for permission like it was recess. He nodded slightly, bored of the drama, just wanted some peace and maybe a cold drink. Gitai tried to smile, but looked like a kid caught with melted candy in pocket. The others grinned, grateful, fists already ready like they'd trained all week for this moment. Gitai begged, but no one hit pause. He'd used up his chances way too early. First punch landed, quick and mean. Gitai folded like a snack bag, stepped on twice. Easy, someone mumbled, watching Gitai flop, but really, nobody wanted him gone, just knocked into humility. Crowd shifted again. New guy whining about fairness like he hadn't just watched a lesson. He tried diplomacy, but fists were already flying. Sometimes talking late feels like skipping breakfast. They rushed in, acting tough, but that always works better in movies than real dirt. One guy stood tall, tired of the noise, asking why anyone's still upright at all. Then came the command, loud and final, telling them all to hit the ground with respect. Gite hit the ground again, pride bruised worse than his jaw or cracked knuckles. The punch wasn't fancy, but it landed with the kind of truth nobody wants. Hes stood over him, calm and almost bored, like swatting flies during a summer walk. Gite whined from the dirt, asking for time like he'd earned any grace left. He leaned in slowly, eyes narrowing. He'd heard enough whining for 3 lifetimes today. The bandaged guy spat insults, but it sounded like leftover crumbs nobody wanted to chew. He wiped dust off his sleeve, wondering how this guy had power at all. Everyone stared as Gite started crying, confusion setting in like watching rain on a sunny day. The group paused, mockery turned to silence because tears from a tyrant hit different than expected. But then it flipped, anger rising again. No one had patience for crocodile tears anymore. Gite knelt, voice cracking, but no one bought the act. Not even the dirt. He watched with quiet disgust, thinking how tiring bullies always act when they lose power. Gite cursed through his tears, switching from fake begging to wild threats like flipping a coin. He swore vengeance, Dad's name flung out like a weak shield at a rock fight. From the back, someone muttered Kang Wooyoung's name. Apparently even worse things were crawling up next. Wooyoung stood steady, letting the loudmouth rant. None of it landed, not even mentally. Gite bragged about his father's connections, like they were magic spells. Nobody seemed impressed, though. Wooyoung tilted his head, half amused, half bored. Dumb threats were Tuesday's usual background noise. He smirked, admitting jealousy in a chill way. His dad sold shellfish, not favors. Gite screamed again, pulling the drama lever, hoping loud volume would hide his shaking hands. Wooyoung kept walking, no rush. He knew exactly how much noise Gite was bluffing. If jail came again, so be it. He'd already done time without flinching once. One more record didn't matter. His past was already painted in darker tones than most. Wooyoung laid it out simple. He'd rather go back in than let Gite slide. Gite stammered, a tear falling again, not for pain, but because fear hit different this time. Wooyoung grinned with fire in his eyes. He claimed the punk like picking up trash. The others backed away slowly, reading the room like smart kids avoiding chores. Wooyoung gave them one last out, standing tall like a wall with no cracks. Footsteps faded into silence, tension leaving with every pair of retreating sneakers. Then, with calm pride, he acknowledged their effort like a teacher pleased with a wild class. Wooyoung declared it loud. This wasn't just a win, it was the closing chapter. The crew responded like fireworks, cheering with every bruise, dirt stain, and scratch they'd earned together. Distant shot framed the field like a memory, quiet, golden, and heavy with unspoken promises. A lone body shifted on the ground, groaning, but not enough to be threatening anymore. One last breath, one last whimper. Gite sat up, realizing power meant nothing without respect. Wooyoung grinned quietly, like someone who just watched his least favorite song finally end. The other guy knelt down, not defeated, just realizing Sakche wasn't bluffing, not even once. Wooyoung stretched his arms casually, the air thick with tension from the earlier intense scuffle. His opponent stood confidently, refusing to accept the outcome, hunger for redemption burning behind his grin. Wooyoung scanned his expression, sensing denial masked as pride, waiting for a reason to fight again. With steady breath, Wooyoung challenged the notion of luck. Offering a clean slate for clarity, his stance relaxed, but his presence spoke volumes. He wasn't stepping back, no matter how often challenged. The other guy exhaled deeply, pride loosening its grip as reality finally settled within him. He faced the truth without flinching, recognizing strength that couldn't be denied or talked around. Respect shown not through compliments, but in acceptance. Wooyoung had fought with heart and undeniable intent. Wooyoung nodded slightly, shifting gears, turning attention toward unfinished business still hanging in the air. Trouble wasn't over. Yom Gite remained, his presence a stain no one could easily scrub out. Not every enemy could be walked away from, some needed to be confronted head-on, no mercy. Yom Gite didn't forgive or forget, his grudges grew teeth and bit deep without warning. They walked silently under moonlight, footsteps slow, knowing the real storm hadn't even started yet. Wooyoung kept thinking, why did the enemy know Gite's mind better than anyone else ever could? The truth hit hard. Gite's fury wasn't personal, it was powered by someone standing behind Wooyoung. Without the crowd, the bravado, or his crew, Yom Gite was just scared inside. Stripped of power, his fear was obvious, anger and pride hiding something smaller beneath it all. Wooyoung had seen it before, people barking loud when they're trying to silence their own fear. His reputation was a shell, carefully built to keep hands clean while others took blame. To Wu Yong, it was clear Gitae was just another coward wearing a louder mask. Under the stars, the conversation shifted, tension easing as reality set in slowly. Wu Yong reminded him about home, a quiet nudge toward something more meaningful than pride. The offer caught him off guard, unsure if peace was actually on the table. He asked what came next, half joking, but unsure if the fight had truly ended. Wu Yong shrugged. Not interested in control, he didn't care to own anyone's future or past. Instead, Wu Yong gave one last order: don't end up like Gitae, bitter and hollow. The message stuck. Simple advice wrapped in a warning only someone who's lived it understands. It was never about power, just knowing when to walk away from the noise. He stood there watching Wu Yong disappear into the quiet night, thoughts spinning behind tired eyes, and just like that, the weight lifted, a smirk rising from someone finally learning peace. The sky was calm, but the tension inside the school office felt thick and heavy. The counselor didn't hold back. He wanted Wu Yong out, plain and simple, no second chances. He made it sound procedural, but his tone said he wanted Wu Yong gone for good. Wu Yong leaned back, amused. Legal adult or not, he wasn't planning to play by rules. His words hit different, cold and calm, rejecting any path that looked like quiet submission. Expulsion wasn't a punishment to Wu Yong, it was freedom from a system he didn't believe in. The counselor tried explaining suspension looked better on paper, easier for everyone to quietly accept, but Wu Yong didn't care about appearances. He wanted a clean break, even if it burned. Eyes steady, he made his decision clear: no delays, no negotiations, just cut the cord. Beneath that calm stare was someone who'd already lost too much to care about image. The desk shook with frustration as the counselor lashed out, voice raised more from fear. Wu Yong didn't flinch. He'd seen louder men fall apart when cornered by their own hypocrisy. Age didn't make someone right. Truth was loud enough on its own to stand tall. He stood, ready to leave, pride intact, knowing he never bowed to empty authority. Leaving behind silence, Wu Yong smiled slightly. Another pointless battle ended, and again, he walked out ahead. The teacher snapped, but Wu Yong stayed chill, spinning the tension like it was nothing serious. He toyed with the paperwork, unfazed, flipping pages like he had all day to waste. He wasn't filling it out himself. Why bother when someone else could do it better? Casual and bold, he tossed the form forward, turning pressure into light teasing banter. One last jab landed. If the teacher wrote literature, it better be written beautifully this time. The counselor sat frozen, pen shaking slightly, anger buried under quiet embarrassment and disbelief. Wu Yong chuckled to himself, reading the room like a script he'd already seen play out. Walking out the office, the air felt lighter, no chains left to drag behind him. A voice called from behind, someone not ready to let this chapter close so easily. Turning around, Wu Yong caught eyes with a classmate. Surprised by the sudden softness in tone, the guy looked nervous, like regret had finally started kicking in too late to help. Wu Yong smiled a little. He knew where the real apologies should have come from all along. There was hesitation, but also hope. Maybe not every goodbye needed to be cold and final. Wu Yong kept it cool. He wasn't vanishing, just choosing to live differently beyond school walls. Inside the classroom, things were finally calmer, rules respected, lunches untouched, and silence earned, not forced. Lunch breaks felt different now. No tension, just small talk and peace finally settling in. Sungwoo smiled wide, a simple moment reminding him that normal life could feel this good. Wu Yong didn't call it happiness. He thought everyone deserved better, not just lucky moments. Sungwoo insisted anyway. His joy came from a place Wu Yong unknowingly helped rebuild from scratch. Wu Yong heard it and smiled, not pride, just a quiet kind of satisfaction deep down. As he walked away, the wind tugged at his hoodie like a soft goodbye. Sungwoo called out, asking for a promise when the comic drops. He wanted to know. Wu Yong waved it off with a grin, the moment lighter than the air around them. Sungwoo had no plan yet, but already picked the name for his main character. Wu Yong chuckled. It was weirdly flattering, being a fictional hero before real life even settled. Cherry blossoms danced above, the school gate now behind him, future stretched out ahead. His footsteps were steady, but thoughts swirled. Was anything actually his to keep? Jealous eyes watched from nearby, clinging to anger in a place finally learning peace. A rock scattered underfoot, kicked without thought, frustration trailing behind like an unwanted shadow. Wu Yong turned slowly, sensing something shift again. Unsure if this chapter was really the end, Wu Yong stood still, eyes narrowed, processing a word that felt bigger than it sounded. His friend looked confused too, neither of them sure if it was deep or dumb. Wu Yong stayed still, eyeing the guy carefully, wondering if things were about to get messy. The guy's posture felt normal, not sketchy at all, like he actually came just to talk. Apparently he'd been waiting there since morning, didn't have Wu Yong's number or any other way. Wu Yong thought maybe the guy was mad about yesterday's fight, itching to go again. but the guy said no, and Wu Yong stared, trying to guess what this was about. Wu Yong frowned, watching the guy nervously shuffle as if he had something weird to say. And yeah, it was weird he said Wu Yong should handle his food and stay now. Wu Yong blinked hard, wondering if this was some kind of prank or he misheard everything. But the guy looked dead serious, saying Wu Yong's his boss now, like it was official. He even backed it up with logic, something about responsibilities when you hire someone properly. Wu Yong didn't know how to react. This guy really thought everything was decided yesterday during that fight. He looked proud, like leaving his home behind was a power move, not impulsive chaos. Wu Yong was panicking inside, wondering if he accidentally recruited someone just by throwing a punch. Still, if he really was the boss now, maybe he could actually test that power. So Wu Yong stared him down, thought a second, and gave him his first silent task. Wu Yong took a step back, unsure how to deal with someone this intense so suddenly. The guy looked shocked when Wu Yong tried to end things before they even got started. Wu Yong raised both hands, tired already, trying to stop this nonsense from getting more dramatic, but the guy snapped. Not holding back anymore, he clearly took all this way too seriously. Still calm, Wu Yong explained he appreciated it but couldn't really be anyone's caretaker right now. Elsewhere, Hyuksu was silent, standing in the dark, feeling like something was off tonight. The streetlights glowed behind him as loud music echoed from the building across town. Inside, a flashy guy greeted people with confidence, totally soaking in the attention and energy. He announced himself with flair, loving the moment, while everyone around him hyped it up. Crowds gathered, someone shouted out a name, seemed like trouble just walked through the door again. Hyuksu turned fast, confused who dared to use that name he left behind years ago. He yelled back, correcting them loudly. Annoyed his image kept getting dragged through old memories. Wu Yong walked in coolly, looking around like he already owned the place without saying anything. The crowd shifted, and the flashy guy's face lit up the second he saw Wu Yong. Meanwhile, a dark alley nearby stayed quiet, far from the chaos now brewing across town. A lighter clicked, smoke curled into the air, and Wu Yong sat down without a word. Hyuksu hesitated beside him, said he couldn't light up while sitting next to the boss. Wu Yong laughed quietly, wondering if the guy thought they were in some holy place or something. Hyuksu gave in, reached for his cigarette, waiting for a signal before actually lighting it. Wu Yong leaned forward, lit the cigarette for him, the flame glowing briefly between their faces. They sat together in silence, letting the smoke drift out, letting their thoughts settle naturally. Then the conversation turned. Hyuksu was 21, same age, but still treating Wu Yong like a senior. Wu Yong didn't get it. Hyuksu explained same age or not, he wasn't like the rest. To Hyuksu, Wu Yong wasn't just some guy. He was something different, heavier, harder to ignore. Like a character from a story someone too solid to joke about or pretend around. Hyuksu spoke quietly, saying Wu Yong was someone too far ahead to ever catch up to. A hero in his eyes, someone who helped without expecting anything, who shaped his life. Wu Yong sighed, warning that kind of talk would only make future visits more awkward. So Hyuksu offered to drop the formality, asked if it was cool to relax. Wu Yong smiled, nodded once. Yeah, he could drop it now. And just like that, they laughed. Hyuksu walked through the alley, thinking back on what he'd heard about Wu Yong's recent work. He finally dropped by, asking how things were going now that Wu Yong was back. He teased Wu Yong a little, saying he seemed like a shadow of his former self. Still, he admitted Wu Yong could have held his own. Even among serious people in this city, Wu Yong looked confused, had no idea the nightclub belonged to some powerful local group. Hyuksu mentioned a well-known name tied to the group, expecting Wu Yong to know the story, but Wu Yong just blinked, completely clueless, like he'd never cared about those kinds of things. Hyuksu smirked, said hard work would get him promoted, maybe even to a better district. He told Wu Yong to keep it up and something better might come his way. Wu Yong gave a calm nod, thinking quietly he had goals of his own, plans nobody knew. Hyuksu leaned in again, saying Wu Yong could probably skip ranks with his name and reputation alone. He smiled like it was obvious Wu Yong wasn't just anyone, and people knew it too. But Wu Yong shook it off, not ready to jump ahead while work still remained unfinished. He thanked Hyuksu for swinging by, admitting the visit was a good change of pace. Hyuksu stood to leave, already halfway out, saying goodbye like he knew they'd meet again soon. Wu Yong waved a casual goodbye, his expression light, while Hyuksu lingered with a thoughtful stare. Hyuksu didn't reply, but something in his eyes said he had more on his mind. The streets glowed quietly as Wu Yong made his way toward the nearby convenience store. Inside, a tired clerk gave the usual polite nod, recognizing his face without much reaction. She kept it professional, but there was something distant behind the smile she gave. Woo Young entered just as another customer left, barely noticing the odd energy in the air. The cashier welcomed someone else out of habit, but turned, surprised to see Woo Young standing there. He moved toward the shelves, casually grabbing a drink like it was part of routine. Next to him, someone else quietly placed a beer and sandwich down, eyes avoiding conversation. The mood stayed quiet as Woo Young stepped up, not in the mood for much else. The cashier asked politely if he needed anything more, but Woo Young kept it simple today. He walked off, saying it was enough, leaving the counter without another word or glance. The cashier watched him go, something unreadable flickering across her face as the door closed. Outside, Woo Young found a seat alone, settled into silence under the street's cool neon glow. He cracked open the can and drank slowly, letting the quiet night do its thing. Woo Young sat with his drink, relaxed, while the clerk quietly slipped into the chair nearby. She asked if he was working. He smirked, lifted his can, and shrugged casually. No customers around, so she didn't press him, just nodded like it made sense tonight. Woo Young agreed with a chuckle, leaning back like the night belonged to nobody in particular. Then he turned. Suddenly curious, asked her how much she earned working at a place like this. She explained calmly, her wage depending on hours and days, all very straightforward and typical. Woo Young listened, slightly amused, asking if she thought he was actually considering a part-time job. He'd thought about it, but laughed off the pay way too low for serious consideration. She pointed out the job was easy, flexible, and even allowed time for schoolwork. He mentioned working daytime, catching her off guard. She looked puzzled, thinking he was still a student. Woo Young clarified, casually saying he wasn't in high school anymore, not needing to follow that schedule. She blinked at him, quietly absorbing the statement, realizing there was more to his story. He downed the last of his drink, the carbonation loud in the quiet street air. With a nod and a wave, he stood up, leaving without any warning or reason. She stared after him, annoyed and confused, wondering why he dipped mid-convo like that again. Woo Young walked alone beneath the night sky, his thoughts drifting towards something deeper than usual. He stared ahead, wondering how he'd survive, what kind of future even existed for him. Suddenly, he spotted a familiar face in the distance, confused, surprised, and slightly on edge. Woo Young walked through the city, headphones in, wondering why the streets felt tense tonight. His mind wandered to recent rumors, people going quiet, strange vibes hanging heavy over usual spots. It hadn't even been a week, but something about the silence didn't feel right. Familiar figures moved ahead, their pace casual, but Woo Young's instincts told him something was off. He watched them closely, slipping his phone back into his pocket with quiet suspicion. On the opposite block, a group lingered under dim lights, pretending they had somewhere to be. They spoke in low voices, shifting their weight, eyes occasionally glancing toward the dark corner. One guy's jaw tensed as uncertainty crept in. This waiting game was testing their nerves hard. Tension built slowly like stretched rubber, each second pulling tighter against their worn patience. No one moved, but their thoughts were loud, filled with doubt about what came next. The air felt heavier now, like everything was holding its breath, waiting for something sharp. Woo Young's name floated through their heads like a warning label they couldn't peel off. He stepped into view without urgency, hands in pockets, eyes sharp and unreadable as ever. Feet shuffled nervously, some wanted to leave, others froze like running might spark something worse. But one thing was clear, no one was moving until Woo Young decided it was over. Awkward laughs slipped out, trying to mask the tension still clinging to everyone's shoulders tightly. The group nodded along, pretending they hadn't all just thought about leaving 5 minutes ago. No one questioned it now. Waiting felt safer than guessing wrong about Woo Young's timing. They stood quietly, backs straight, hoping their calmness hid the nerves crawling under their skin. Cannon didn't say much, but his silence did more damage than threats ever could. His presence alone shifted the air like gravity itself had changed direction just for him. Everyone stood up straighter, trying not to stare but also not wanting to blink. Some exchanged glances, small eye movements asking, "Should we say something?" but no one dared. A few tried to smile, but their faces didn't quite remember how to anymore. Beneath the calm surface, fingers twitched nervously inside pockets, betraying what they refused to admit. As Sungwoo approached, the crowd parted like instinct told them who deserved the center lane. Faces lit up, voices lifted, relief and respect mixed in the way they greeted him. But Woo Young just walked forward, unfazed, like this whole scene wasn't even about him. He didn't crave attention, he just didn't avoid it when it naturally followed him around. One bow, quick and deep, said what words couldn't. Fear and loyalty go hand in hand. The tension began to fade as Woo Young gave a nod, signaling things were okay now. Sakwon relaxed slightly, but he still watched everyone like someone might suddenly break the silence. With Wu Yong's presence confirmed, nobody wanted to be the one causing trouble this late. A quick wave and half-smile were enough to make the group scatter like leaves. Left behind, Saquon stayed still, eyes narrowing as his thoughts drifted far beyond tonight. Wu Yong glanced over, noticing someone hadn't moved, just standing there with uncertain hands in pockets. He told the guy to leave, not with anger, just a simple, tired expression. But the guy didn't budge, shoulders stiff, his reason clearly not about pride or fear. He wanted to help, even if his strength was small, even if unnecessary. His voice trembled, but his eyes didn't flinch, just the quiet, honest look of friendship. Wu Yong stood still, unsure whether to laugh or sigh at this strange show of loyalty. He remembered their early days before fights, before names held weight, before respect ever mattered. This kid, he thought, was the only one still clinging to something genuine underneath it. Even if he was weak, even if he stumbled, he stayed, and that meant something now. Wu Yong let out a breath and smiled faintly, the moment heavier than anyone could see. Sungwoo stepped closer, trying to hide his worry behind a polite smile and steady hands. Wu Yong appreciated the thought but kept his distance, letting the moment breathe without extra pressure. A quiet nod was enough, and Wu Yong tucked the favor away for another time. Today wasn't about fists. It was something heavier, something you couldn't throw or dodge easily. Together they stood before the reason, trying to seem calm while their thoughts ran wild. The street emptied behind them, one by one, until only footsteps and cold wind remained. Sungwoo lingered, watching Wu Yong's back, unsure if leaving felt right or like giving up. But trust had its own language, and Wu Yong's last glance said enough without words. He walked away slowly, glancing back once more before the night swallowed his figure completely. Wu Yong turned, cracking his knuckles, ready to face what waited now that it was quiet. He didn't come to fight, but the weight in his chest said otherwise somehow. Wu Yong wasn't angry, just tired of pretending peace came without effort in a place like this. His opponent stood tall, unreadable, but not reckless. He knew who he was facing tonight. The tension faded into something like understanding, both knowing this meeting was about more than conflict, and somewhere in that silence, respect settled in between warriors who knew how to hold ground. Sungwoo waved from a distance, lingering for a moment, then turned to finally head home. Wu Yong sat down slowly, letting the street's silence replace the noise that filled his thoughts. He looked up calmly, ready to hear the reason behind everything dragging them to this. He wasn't dodging the topic anymore. This time, he planned to say it straight. With a breath, he began to unravel the truth he couldn't explain clearly before. The moment felt tense, not angry, but heavy with thoughts they hadn't shared out loud yet. Wu Yong leaned forward, tired of half-truths and dances around what both of them already knew. He pointed out the contradictions, frustration creeping in not out of anger, but out of care. He didn't want Sungwoo in danger, just a normal life outside this chaos. But he stayed patient this time, listening, finally giving Sungwoo the space to speak back. Sungwoo exhaled, then finally spoke from the place he'd kept hidden behind excuses and nerves. He admitted his own weakness too, no longer pretending he had everything under control, but he saw persistence in others and in himself that made him stay and try again. Thanks to Wu Yong's presence, yesterday's fear didn't swallow him the way it almost had. And now, face to face, he could finally say it all without backing down or deflecting. Sungwoo walked with relief in his step, feeling lighter after finally speaking his truth. A sudden voice from behind stopped them cold, too sharp, too familiar to ignore casually. Seok-chae turned around slowly, heart sinking as realization hit like a punch to the chest. His expression shifted, fast memories surfacing, rage curling up from the gut he'd tried to steady. The man before him wasn't just trouble, he was a wound Seok-chae hadn't healed from. Mr. Han smiled like he knew something no one else in the room could guess. Yeom-gi-tae showed up looking like hell, clearly not in the mood for small talk. The crew noticed Gi-tae's face, tense and bruised, all wondering what mess he got into. Gi-tae warned them off, keeping things vague, trying to shoulder it all on his own. Seok-chae stepped up, signaling he needed a word. No crowd, just straight man-to-man business. Relax, Seok-chae muttered, assuring Mr. Han it wasn't his fault, not this time anyway. Mr. Han nodded, trusting him like always, but the worry stayed deep in his eyes. Seok-chae promised he'd be back soon, giving a calm wave as he walked away. The others stood silent, caught between fear and confusion, sensing something big had just shifted. Seok-chae exhaled slowly in the alleyway, already knowing tonight wasn't ending without some damage. A sudden ambush cracked the air. Gi-tae was furious, throwing fists like his pride was bleeding. His goal break Seok-chae down so hard he couldn't even stand straight ever again. Then rebuild the alliance, clean slate, no rebellion, just power in his own clenched fists. He'd replace the old crew, keep only the ones who'd never dare question him again. Glaring down, he gave orders one day to reset everything, or face what's coming next. Sakshay stood quietly, staring down the tension building fast between him and Gitai's rage. Gitai's temper snapped, swinging hard like an answer was owed, and silence wasn't an option. The hit landed, loud and sharp, but Sakshay didn't flinch. Still locked in his thoughts, Sakshay caught Gitai's arm midair, his voice calm but heavy. He'd finally reached his breaking point. Gitai stumbled back, surprised. Sakshay wasn't backing off anymore, not after everything he'd tolerated. Gitai yelled, furious, throwing his name around like power still meant something in this alley. Sakshay kept his cool, telling him plainly it's done, the respect is gone, lines are crossed. Gitai cursed, desperate, ranting about control, fear, and the need to crush whoever challenged him. He didn't care how it got done, just that it did, by any means necessary. Sakshay walked away slowly, tired of games, not scared, just done trying to fix everything. Gitai barked orders again, but Sakshay stepped up calm. Honest, he wasn't following him anymore. He'd treat Gitai with courtesy, sure, but that old chain of command was broken now. Sakshay made it clear, the person he once respected wasn't standing in front of him. Glaring, he told Gitai, whatever you want next, you'll have to earn with your own strength. Gitai lost it, flipping a table in rage. While Sakshay didn't move an inch, Gitai lost it, screaming threats and tossing crates, desperate to hold on to his crumbling control. Sakshay stood his ground, eyes sharp. He'd had enough of that man's madness and manipulation. Gitai reminded Kang Sakshay who fed his family, twisting past kindness into a chain. Every step Sakshay took echoed with pressure his home, his mom all tangled in someone else's game. Gitai raised his fists like a tyrant, confident that fear alone would keep them obedient. Sakshay stayed calm, eyes steady, reminding him he once promised he wouldn't go that far. Gitai grinned bitterly, dragging up debts and shame like a rope around Sakshay's whole family. Every word was a hook, loans, favors, history all twisted into reasons to stay under his boot. Sakshay listened, silent, as if accepting the weight, but something behind his eyes had already shifted. He spoke softly, almost to himself. His dream was never about power, just living a normal life. A table, a smile, a home, that's all he ever wanted, just peace with his parents. A simple dream, grow, love, raise kids when the time was right, be present, be good. Nothing wild, just a house, a park, laughter, real life, not fists and fear every day. Others might laugh at it, but to him that quiet life was everything that mattered. Gitai scoffed, calling it nonsense. But Sakshay stood tall. He endured it all to protect that dream. Gitai mocked Sakshay's dreams, laughing at how impossible a quiet life really was. Now, Sakshay knew deep down, as long as Gitai stayed in his life, peace was unreachable. Every threat, every demand, every moment stolen from his future Gitai made sure none of it lasted. The others shouted, pushing Sakshay to end it now before things spiraled beyond control again. But Sakshay had already made up his mind. His wish could only live if Gitai fell. He thought of his family again, dinner smiles fading behind the cracks Gitai left behind. If this was the cost of protecting them, Sakshay would pay it all without hesitation, even if it shattered everything he held dear. He'd take this fight straight through the fire. Just once, just tonight, he had to fight back, to protect what peace meant to him. He stared Gitai down, heart steady, and declared silently this time, I won't let it slide. The first kick landed like thunder. Sakshay wasn't holding back anymore, not for anyone's comfort. Gitai reeled, breath gone, realizing too late that this version of Sakshay wasn't like before. Sakshay stood tall, letting silence say what words couldn't. He was here to finish this clean. Gitai tried to rise, coughing, but Sakshay was already moving again, fire in his stride. The next blow dropped hard. Sakshay wasn't angry anymore. He was just done being controlled. Sakshay's glare said it all. He was putting his dream on the line for this. Gitai hit the ground hard, dazed, wondering how it all flipped so quickly. Sakshay stood over him, not smug, just tired. He never wanted to fight in the first place. Gitai clutched his ribs, groaning, the weight of his own pride catching up fast. Silence stretched as Sakshay turned, not in retreat, but as someone who'd finally made peace. Gitai whimpered, desperate. He knew another hit might really end it this time. Sakshay hesitated, his fist clenched. This wasn't about pride anymore, it was about conscience. His thoughts raced. Was he crossing the line? Would this be something he'd regret forever? Gitai begged, shaking, eyes wide. That power he once had was totally stripped away now. Sakshay paused, breathing deep, letting the anger settle as he chose not to strike again. Sakshay made it clear his family was off limits from now on, no exceptions. Gitai cried out, finally realizing there was no saving the fear-based empire he'd built. Hurled on the ground, he pleaded to be let go. Weak, pathetic, nowhere near a leader. Seokjae gave one final warning: break this promise, and nothing would save him next time. Gi-tae bawled, nodding frantically, and for the first time, he finally understood who truly held control. Seokjae stood over Gi-tae in silence, the weight of everything finally sinking in deep. He couldn't believe he once followed someone like this, all while calling it loyalty. Seokjae walked away quietly, not triumphant, just free, like he'd finally stepped out from a shadow. Gi-tae trembled on the ground, gripping the dirt, unable to handle the shame swallowing him whole. Rage returned fast. He swore revenge, no matter the price, screaming Seokjae and Seokjae's names into darkness. Woo-young sat quietly, looking tired but determined. He left home with no backup, just guts and that stubborn mindset again. He believed leaving would fix things, save his family from more trouble. But he forgot the world outside's never easy. Seokjae stared at him, trying to hold back judgment. At that age, kids dream big but often fall harder. Woo-young didn't argue. He knew it sounded dumb, but his mind was set. Pride already dragging him too far out. Seokjae sighed, accepting it. Woo-young was reckless, always had been. But now, the weight of that choice wasn't just his. Woo-young misunderstood again, arms flailing like usual. He thought Seokjae was blaming him, but the truth stung more than words. He snapped, hurt leaking out like steam. The walls he built up always cracked when someone actually gave a damn. If I'm a burden, I'll leave. His voice didn't shake, but the silence after said everything he was afraid of. Seokjae didn't reply right away, just watched Woo-young walking off like a kid pretending to know how the world works. Still, Woo-young kept going. No backup, no money, just a bitter promise to rely on himself even if it broke him. Seokjae stayed quiet, letting Woo-young drift further down the alley. The kid really was clueless about how dangerous life gets. Watching Woo-young's back fade, his gut twisted. That idiot would end up in real trouble, loan sharks, gangs, or worse. He cursed, stopping in his tracks. The kid didn't even have proper shoes, just blind hope and that stupid resolve. After a moment, Seokjae groaned and turned. Pride was one thing, but letting Woo-young destroy himself, that wasn't happening today. He shouted, annoyed but resigned. Just once, he'd pull Woo-young back from the edge. After that, he was on his own. Seokjae stood silently, the night breeze brushing past him. Things didn't feel over yet, and his gut was rarely wrong. From above, everything looked calm, almost peaceful. But something was shifting, like the start of trouble that hadn't made noise yet. Somewhere nearby, footsteps echoed. A girl moved with purpose, not knowing she was walking into the start of someone else's story. She adjusted her grip on a heavy trash bag, half singing a tune, lost in thought and the rhythm of routine. Across the rooftops, the sky stretched endless. Below, the world quietly spun, completely unaware two strangers were about to collide. The girl Yuna moved like she owned the night. Calm, carefree, just doing chores, but always alert under that calm face. She stretched, yawned, then started humming. Same rooftop, same view, same boring night. She liked it quiet, until she sensed something. A shadow moved behind her, slow and deliberate. She didn't panic, but her body tensed. Something was definitely off tonight. She turned just slightly, catching a tall figure. Her heart jumped. Was it a wild animal, a drunk guy, a ghost? Yuna's eyes widened. Whatever it was, it didn't look right. Her brain said danger, but her feet didn't move yet. The figure stepped forward, Seokjae, still carrying that stubborn scowl, but under bad lighting, he looked more beast than human. Yuna squinted and froze. For a second, her imagination took over. A giant bear with bad intentions, totally possible. Her mind spiraled. What kind of bear talks? What kind of nightmare was this? Maybe she should have stayed inside tonight. Finally, the light above flickered, revealing everything. Just a guy, still tall, still intense, but clearly not a man-eating animal. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. It was just Seokjae. But why was he here? Seokjae blinked, a little confused by the randomness of the moment. Yuna seemed oddly calm after everything that just happened. She quietly picked up a fallen sock, unfazed, while Woo-young opened the door like it was just another boring Tuesday. Woo-young spotted them on the rooftop and waved, totally chill. For him, this chaos probably felt like the usual. Yuna tilted her head. Laundry dinner. Somehow this rooftop had gone from creepy encounter to casual hangout in 10 seconds. She raised an eyebrow at Seokjae, tall, silent, serious. But now, apparently, someone's younger brother. None of it made sense. Woo-young scratched his head, fumbling through introductions. Seokjae just stood there, towering awkwardly, clearly not into small talk or explanations. Yuna forced a polite smile, still wondering what she just walked into. At least she knew Woo-young, mostly, hopefully. She introduced herself, voice steady, but inside, her brain was still spinning with questions and a weird mental checklist. Seokjae corrected Woo Young stone-faced. Younger brother was a stretch, but this wasn't the moment to untangle the weird family tree. Yuna blinked hard. Kang Seokjae. The Kang Seokjae. Her face said confusion. Her brain said, what kind of plot twist? She replayed everything in her head. Rooftop, laundry, looming figure. The bear moment still haunted her a little too vividly. Meanwhile, Seokjae just nodded, like none of this was unusual. The guy had serious poker face levels of emotional suppression. Yuna watched him walk off, still half convinced he might growl or climb a tree or something wild at any second. Woo Young called out casually, dinner time. The whole night had flipped from weird to weirder, but somehow that felt normal now. Yuna followed them inside, slipping off her shoes. Bear or not, Seokjae was part of the chaos now. No escape. The ramen bubbled like it was saving the day. A cheap meal. Yeah, but tonight it was comfort they both needed. Woo Young passed a bowl to Seokjae. It wasn't much, but the warmth hit harder than expected after a long night. The first slurp always hits different. Seokjae didn't talk, didn't pause. Just ate like it was his last meal ever. Woo Young chuckled. The guy attacked ramen like it owed him money. Typical. Some things never change, even with time apart. He reminded Seokjae to chill, no one's chasing him. But honestly, it felt like life had been chasing them both. Seokjae slowed down, but his eyes scanned the pot. He definitely had room for round 2, maybe even round 3. Woo Young leaned back, already reading his thoughts. They didn't need deep talks. The noodles said everything that hadn't been said. He offered to make more, and Seokjae didn't say no. Hunger had a way of tearing down silent pride. Ramen packets lined the counter like an altar, a night of awkward comfort and quiet acceptance, seasoned with MSG. Then Seokjae asked the real question, why the formal tone between them. It felt weird. Too stiff for this late-night vibe. Woo Young explained, it was respect, or maybe habit. Or maybe he just didn't know where they stood. Seokjae didn't love it. Honorifics felt like distance. Too polite, too official. Not what they needed right now. He said he wasn't a boss, wasn't part of any shady crew. Just a guy trying to exist. Woo Young smiled, unsure. Their world wasn't normal, but it wasn't gangster-level weird either. It was somewhere in between, and always confusing. Seokjae gave up on trying to define it. Family, friends, whatever they were here sharing ramen, that was enough for tonight. Woo Young sighed mid-slurp. Seokjae acted respectful, sure, but still did whatever he wanted like it was second nature. Some things never change. With the bowl nearly empty, Woo Young finally asked the real question. What was Seokjae even planning to do from tomorrow? Seokjae admitted he had no clue. He'd thought about his future a lot, but nothing ever really stuck long enough. Whether it was school or business, one thing stayed the same: money was the first step, and they had none. Woo Young nodded along. Reality check accepted. Then he joked, maybe they'd just shake down some school principals for funds. Ridiculous, kinda. Seokjae smirked, clearly not taking that idea too seriously. But yeah, money. They needed a plan, not just desperation. He knew being legally an adult didn't mean much. As a minor on paper, a lot of jobs were off limits. Woo Young blinked. Oh right, he kept forgetting Seokjae was still technically a minor. That complicated things more than he expected. Then it clicked. They could do construction by day, food delivery at night. Hard work, but it'd earn quick cash. Seokjae casually confirmed he had a motorcycle license now. Said it like it wasn't a huge deal, but it totally was. Woo Young raised a brow. That was fast. But hey, at least Seokjae was serious. Following Yeom Jitae had paid off. Yuna chimed in from the side, happily eating her noodles. Somehow she had joined the planning meeting mid-bite. It was official. They'd work construction during the day and handle food delivery at night. The ramen sealed the deal. The next day, they hit up a small restaurant with a scooter parked out front. Looked promising, at least. The owner was relieved. With delivery guys quitting, he and his wife were barely keeping up. Help couldn't come sooner. The owner hesitated, squinting at Seokjae like he'd seen him on a wanted poster. The biker vibe was a concern. Woo Young laughed nervously, but it didn't help. Seokjae's intense aura wasn't exactly helping build trust in this tiny restaurant. Whispering, Woo Young pointed out the obvious: his face alone looked like trouble. First impressions weren't exactly Seokjae's strong point. Seokjae quickly denied any biker ties. No gangs, no clubs, just a guy trying to work, despite the sharp stare. The owner looked skeptical. Still, he could see the desperation behind Seokjae's serious expression. He finally gave a tiny nod. The owner gave them the green light. Desperate times called for hiring guys who looked like they just escaped a gang. He leaned forward with one condition: stay away from anyone riding a blue motorcycle. His tone changed, like it was personal. The request felt weirdly specific, but the way he said it made Seokjae sit up straighter and actually pay attention. They nodded, not asking questions. The man didn't offer reasons, just instructions. Sometimes it's better to listen than dig deeper. Later that night, Sokchi stood by the window. That hum of engines and the dark blue motorcycles, already showing up. The back of the jacket said Blue Blitz, glowing under streetlights. Sokchi knew instantly this was the group they warned about. The roar of engines tore through the silence. 5 bikes, headlights, slicing the dark. These weren't just riders, they meant trouble. Mr. Bake looked serious, warning Woo Young and Sokche to stay away from anyone riding around on a blue motorcycle. Confused, Woo Young raised an eyebrow while Sokche just watched. The vibe in the room had suddenly shifted real weird. Mr. Bake leaned forward, voice low. He wasn't joking. Apparently, this was life or death stuff, not just some sketchy neighborhood drama. Woo Young stared out the window, thoughts racing. Did he just step into something bigger than school fights and cafeteria ramen? Mr. Bake clarified it's not just the bikes. Watch for tattoos on the right hand. That's when things usually go south. Woo Young remembered seeing one earlier. Blue wheels, fast blur, engine roaring. It passed by like a shadow with somewhere dark to go. Sokche kept his face calm but his fists clenched tight. He'd been in worse, but this felt different, more dangerous. Mr. Bake wasn't sugarcoating anything. If avoiding those people wasn't an option, maybe this wasn't the right place for them. Woo Young looked at Sokche. Neither said a word, but both knew the answer. They weren't leaving. Not like this. Not now. Mr. Bake gave a crooked smile, something between concern and approval. Maybe these kids had more guts than common sense. That night, Woo Young and Sokche strolled through neon-lit streets, the city buzzing with noise. But something tense hung in the air. Sokche suggested ramen and beer. Simple comfort. Normal stuff. Woo Young nodded, but deep down, he couldn't really relax anymore. He declined the beer, said he'd grab milk instead. A little joke to lighten the tension neither of them addressed. Sokche chuckled. Woo Young might have looked calm, but he had the energy of someone who's fought too much and slept too little. They walked into the convenience store, bell chiming. Yuna greeted them with a smile, not knowing what kind of night waited. Sokche casually tells Yuna he doesn't smoke, like it's just another Tuesday, not realizing how tense he's making things. Yuna sighs, knowing Sokche's type, silent, intense, but probably wouldn't touch alcohol if it was the last drink on Earth. He repeats it, he doesn't drink. He's not trying to impress anyone. He's just here for snacks and peace. Woo Young silently picks his ramen, eyes on the shelf, pretending not to notice the awkward energy simmering in the store. Yuna suddenly locks eyes with something or someone that makes her heart jump. Something's definitely not right, and she can feel it. She stares at the chocolate milk in his hand like it's a foreign object. What kind of guy buys that, and of all flavors chocolate, it's weirdly charming. She wasn't expecting that kind of softness from someone who looks like trouble. Sokche just wants a receipt. Nothing more, nothing less. Like this milk was part of some serious business transaction. Yuna's caught off guard, not by the milk, but by how Sokche somehow makes asking for a receipt feel dramatic. Woo Young laughs it off, paying for everything like usual. The silent big brother energy was strong with him tonight. Yuna shyly admits she actually likes chocolate milk too. Something about the sweetness softens even the worst days at work. Sokche thanks her with a straight face, calling her Nuna, which only makes things way more awkward than they needed. Yuna's brain short-circuits a bit. The way he says it, it's not respectful. It's suspicious, like he's hiding something behind that stare. Sokche freezes, not sure if he just offended her or accidentally confessed to some imaginary crime through milk and manners. Yuna coughs, reaching for the cash. She just wants to wrap this shift up without losing her mind over a receipt. Woo Young gave a quiet thank you before stepping outside, ramen and chocolate milk in hand like a simple evening ritual. Sokche popped the lid, steam rising from noodles, milk tucked beside it like an odd but loyal sidekick. He leaned back in his chair, casually mentioning the rumors, something about a biker gang messing with local stores. Woo Young nodded. It was obvious. The noise, the tension, it all lined up. Nothing about this place felt quiet anymore. Sokche explained how they'd cause chaos if things didn't go their way. It wasn't just noise, it was a pattern. Woo Young considered it for a second, then asked if they should just take care of the problem themselves. Sokche blinked, eyebrows raised. Since when were they the hero types that sounded like something out of a comic book? He laughed, half joking, calling them Batman or Spider-Man. But even in jest, the weight of the idea stuck in the air. Woo Young stared at his drink, thinking. Letting it slide meant more chaos, but interfering might just drag them into a storm. He groaned, frustrated. Doing nothing was safer, but it also felt like letting something rot while pretending it didn't smell. Gripping the can tighter, Woo Young finally spoke. His past was messy, expelled, locked up, stories that never made it into textbooks. He wasn't looking to mess things up again. His second chance already felt fragile, like it could snap with one move. He looked straight at Sokche. He wasn't afraid, just tired of losing school, freedom, peace. He didn't want to gamble anymore. Seokjae paused, quietly listening. Sometimes silence said more than words. The weight behind Woo Young's voice didn't need any backup. With a nod, Woo Young shrugged it off. Let the cops handle the gang. They had enough on their plate already. Seokjae glanced at the bill on the table and gave a nod. A quiet all right sealed their unspoken pact. He knew this wasn't glamorous beer and ramen under cheap green umbrellas, but somehow it felt better than being alone with his past. Woo Young chuckled, half dreaming out loud. One day, they'd trade plastic forks for silverware, noodles for pasta, and maybe even wine. Seokjae raised an eyebrow, not sure if he was joking or hinting at some romantic dinner date scenario between bros. Woo Young smirked, waiting for a reaction. He enjoyed pushing buttons, especially when Seokjae looked like he might short-circuit. Seokjae laughed it off, calling out Woo Young's habit of just saying whatever crossed his mind, no filter at all. He added that Woo Young never talked this freely with Yom Jite. His vibe was different now, more natural. Woo Young asked if he should act the same way as before, more serious, more guarded, whatever that version of him was. Seokjae quickly shut that down. He didn't want a performance. He wanted the version of Woo Young that liked chocolate milk. They shared a rare moment of genuine smiles, not forced, not hiding anything, just two guys not pretending for once. Woo Young lifted his drink again and toasted to keeping things light, even if everything around them kept getting heavier. He joked that even if the blue motorcycle gang crossed their path, they'd just pretend they were invisible. No drama. Seokjae nodded. It was a gamble either way, but he was willing to play it cool for now. They tapped drinks, choco, milk, and beer like it was a sacred pact. Brothers in arms, bound by caffeine and fermented barley. The next morning, the city buzzed as workers filed into construction sites. Life moved on, but tension still simmered quietly. The phone rang with urgency, slicing through the restaurant's calm, while noodles steamed quietly on the nearby counter. Outside, a customer praised the food, not knowing how tightly the staff inside was holding things together during every shift. June, arms full, shuffled over to deliver the meal, barely catching the customer's soft thank you in return. The chef cracked a rare smile, watching the customer dig in like it was the best thing he'd ever tasted. He didn't say it, but that moment the quiet appreciation meant more than compliments or 5-star reviews ever could. As June focused on finishing his bowl, the chef stood silently, watching. Unsure why this scene felt oddly satisfying. Then came another ring, another order, another address, another night of quiet hustle disguised as normal dinner service. The address was familiar. The chef repeated it back, voice calm, though something sharp flickered behind his eyes briefly. One of the younger guys overheard and stepped up. He knew the spot and he was ready to go. The moon hung low above the restaurant as the door shut behind him. Quiet returned, but it felt heavier. Back at the store, someone asked about Seokjae's whereabouts, but no one had really noticed him leaving earlier. Another guy confirmed the same. He thought Seokjae was on a delivery, but now even that didn't feel certain. Woo Young showed up, tension on his face. He didn't like the sound of this confusion, too many blanks unfilled. And just like that, the sound of tires skidding cut through the street like a sharp warning no one wanted. Emergency lights glowed red under the night sky, and people ran something serious had happened, and hearts dropped instantly. Woo Young burst into the hospital, heart pounding harder than his footsteps. He barely saw the nurses, just the bed ahead. Seokjae lay there, battered but breathing, eyes heavy but clear. Woo Young's chest tightened with relief and something deeper, silent anger. Even hurt, Seokjae managed a calm nod. He'd been waiting, stubborn as ever, refusing to rest until Woo Young arrived. Woo Young stared at him, fists clenched. Seeing Seokjae like that lit a fire. Someone was going to pay for this. Seokjae lay in the hospital bed, arms bandaged, eyes tired. He still smiled when Haonime finally showed up. Haonime asked what went down, confused. Seokjae wasn't weak, so something else had to be behind all this mess. Seokjae admitted he rushed back on his scooter after a delivery, not thinking much, just wanting to make it on time. With a small sigh, he apologized. The guilt was obvious, but Haonime wasn't having it that easy. Haonime stood still, quiet for a second, then asked bluntly if Seokjae thought he was some kind of fool. Seokjae hesitated, staring up at the ceiling. There was more to it, but saying it out loud felt heavy. Haonime didn't push, but he made it clear if Seokjae trusted him, there shouldn't be secrets between them. He wanted the truth, raw and unfiltered, no excuses. It wasn't just about injuries anymore, it was deeper than that. Seokjae finally nodded. Yes, they were the reason. The same group they'd been warned about, always lurking behind the scenes. He had just finished a delivery and was heading back when everything spiraled. He hadn't expected any trouble at all. The city lights blurred as Seokjae casually rode his scooter, unaware that tonight would be anything but routine or quiet. A sharp engine rev behind him made him glance back too late. several bikes were suddenly right on his tail. His gut clenched. All of them were wearing blue. That wasn't random, it was too organized, too intentional to ignore. Sokche took a sharp right into a narrow street, hoping he could shake them off without making a scene. But the riders kept chasing. No matter how fast or far he turned, they stayed right behind, relentless in their pursuit. One of the guys snapped his fingers, and just like that, all of them sped up like a swarm. Sokche saw the bikes surround him, closing in from both sides, way too organized to be anything but planned. He glanced sideways, narrowing his eyes. Were they actually trying to start a fight in the middle of the damn street? He spotted a left turn up ahead. If he moved quick, he could slip through before they boxed him in. No time to think twice. He leaned in and cut left fast, hoping they'd back off even just a little. The guy in the back showed off a burn mark on his hand, same signal from earlier. They weren't giving up. Sokche's scooter jolted forward as he pushed it harder, weaving between cars. Their headlights never once stopped chasing him. He kept glancing behind, trying to figure it out. What the hell were they even trying to do here? One rider shouted for him to stop, pulling up close like this was some twisted game of tag gone way too far. Sokche hit the brakes near a crossing. The group blocked him in tight, and someone finally stepped off their bike. Sokche kept calm, trying not to lose his cool, but the question hit hard. Why were they really doing this tonight? Another guy repeated the question louder, this time in front of a convenience store, under the flickering glow of neon signs. A red-haired guy stepped forward, his stare sharp. Sokche didn't recognize him, but he clearly wasn't messing around. He noticed the delivery logo on Sokche's scooter and asked if Sokche worked for the shop. His tone was too casual. Sokche nodded slowly. Still, the big question remained unanswered. Why were they going after someone just doing his job tonight? Sokche stood still, facing the group. One of them asked if he even knew who they were supposed to be. He admitted he didn't. Not out of disrespect, just pure honesty, and that clearly caught them off guard a bit. The red-haired guy smirked, repeating it back. A guy riding a scooter in their turf who doesn't know them. Sokche explained he wasn't from the area, just working part-time, making deliveries. It was literally his first day. One of the guys wasn't buying it. The way Sokche kept his cool clearly rubbed him the wrong way. The leader raised a hand, signaling the others to relax. He suggested forgetting the whole thing ever happened. Just like that. Then, out of nowhere, he offered Sokche a spot with them, said it like he was inviting someone to lunch. The others were confused. One asked what the leader even saw in Sokche to make that kind of offer. Sokche blinked. He wasn't sure he heard right. They wanted him to join. That didn't make any sense. One guy doubted it hard, said maybe Sokche just looked strong but was actually a clueless meathead underneath the muscle. The leader turned serious real fast, asking if the guy was trying to snitch to the boss about all this talk. His words weren't loud, but the pressure hit heavy. No one wanted to be the one messing with chain of command. He told them to stop being hesitant and act right, or he'd rip into them for wasting his time. Young Nim's name hadn't been mentioned, but Sokche felt like the tension was similar, like this crew ran with strict rules too. Sokche declined the invite respectfully. He didn't want to get dragged into their scene. He came to work, not join gangs. Sokche stood tall as they circled him. One guy said Blue Blitzes was making an offer, something they rarely did. Another chimed in, telling him not to overthink it. They weren't asking for friendship, just someone who followed orders. Sokche gave a polite nod and stepped back. He appreciated it, but said he was done with the conversation. The red-haired guy didn't push back, just sighed and muttered it couldn't be helped. His expression shifted from calm to cold. He told the others to teach Sokche a lesson, nothing lethal. Just enough so he'd remember to respect their word next time. Sokche stayed calm, figuring it was best to just take a few punches and walk away without making it worse. The first guy lunged, swinging wide, but Sokche moved slightly, taking it on the shoulder like it didn't bother him at all. Another came in from the side, throwing a fast jab. This time, Sokche blocked it without thinking, muscle memory taking over. A punch landed solid on his chest. The guy stepped back, surprised. Sokche didn't flinch. His body was built like steel. They looked confused. He wasn't fighting back, but somehow, he wasn't losing either. That kind of control wasn't normal around here. One of them laughed nervously. The leader smirked and reminded everyone he had an eye for people worth keeping around. Sokche casually asked if they were done. He was still calm, like this whole situation was just part of his shift. The redhead warned them not to let Sokche leave, said if they did, he'd tear through them himself in frustration. Sokche didn't back down. When he got the green light to go, he simply nodded and took a step forward. But the guy who'd been itching to fight snapped. He called Sokche out, claiming muscles alone didn't mean he was safe tonight. Sokche caught the punch mid-air and didn't even blink. His grip tightened slightly enough to make the guy panic inside. Everyone froze. One guy muttered how Sokche wasn't even phased. It felt like they were fighting a wall, not a person. Another one stepped back slowly, face blank. He couldn't believe someone just stood there after a full hit like that. Seokji stood silently in the middle, giving them one more look before asking again if he could just leave now. Finally, the group hesitated, unsure if they should let him or make another mistake that might cost more than bruised knuckles. Seokji started walking, calm and collected, like the whole fight was just a weird side quest before heading home. The leader narrowed his eyes, irritated, and his body tensed. He couldn't let it end like this, not quietly. With one swift move, he stepped in to strike, expecting Seokji to finally break or at least show a hint of pain. Seokji didn't flinch. The sound of impact was loud, but his stance didn't shift an inch. Everyone else stared, stunned. The red-haired guy clenched his jaw. He muttered under his breath. Seokji was way too solid, way too calm to ignore. The others jumped in all at once, fists flying. But it wasn't enough. Seokji barely moved as they swarmed him. The leader finally shouted for them to stop. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Everyone froze on instinct. The silence that followed was heavy. He could feel the shift in how they looked at Seokji, confused, curious, maybe impressed. He crouched to meet Seokji's eye and gave a dry smirk, saying he'd be seeing him again real soon. Seokji stayed quiet, wiping blood from his chin. No fear, no anger, just steady, like this night was already behind him. Seokji's body hurt, but not as much as his pride. He hadn't fought back, but still walked away bruised. The red-haired guy watched him go, smirking. Said it wouldn't work anyway, like this wasn't the last time they'd meet. Back in the hospital bed, Seokji recapped everything. He didn't even sound mad, just matter-of-fact, like reporting a delivery. Young Nim stayed quiet for a second, then admitted maybe it was time to switch stores. Too much heat in that area. Seokji nodded slightly. If it was a one-time thing, maybe fine, but it didn't feel like something that would just stop. Young Nim stood in the dark, fists clenched, rage simmering. Whatever came next, he wasn't going to let it slide quietly.